Welcome to the November 14th, 2024. Going back in time machine. Planning board meeting. We'll have a roll call, please.
Chair LaFaro.
Present.
Vice Chair Finity.
Present.
The Secretary is here. Board Member Mutu is absent. Board Member Neely.
Present.
Board Member Fulham.
Present.
Board Member Glazer is absent. We have a quorum.
Great. Please join us for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was going to say, could probably do it seated.
I'm gonna try to find something later to put my foot up on. Okay. Any minutes, Gloria?
October 24.
Motion by Dennis, second by Tom, all in favor. Opposed, abstentions. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 5. 5 of us,
Yes.
5 in favor.
Down 2.
Okay, we have a work session. So I'm going to close the afternoon session and go into the work session, 495 County Road 39, otherwise known as ServPro. Are they not here?
I think no, that was actually the one that the agent requested to push to next week.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Next week. Janice wants to talk to us. Do I have an old agenda here? Maybe.
No, it was.
Item number 10.
Janice, what are you? Yeah.
I'm just here for a quick referral.
Okay.
If you don't mind, everybody.
To regular session.
Thanks, Jen.
Yes, so it's regular session now, or work session?
Regular session.
Session. So, okay, so we're out of the work session and we're in regular session.
Thank you. There's all these maps here. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Janice
afternoon,
Shearer, Town Planning and
Janice.
Development Administrator. It's nice to be before you. This is a simple referral for amending Chapter 330, 346, which is non-residential lighting standards. This code request is at the request of the Dark Skies Committee. And as you know, we've been able to stick to that 3,000 Kelvin for all these years. But now lighting comes less than 3,000. So, we're just trying to stay with the times.
Mm-hmm.
The new cap would be 2,700 instead of 3,000 Kelvin. But if there was a site plan, let's say near the water or somewhere where you want a lower Kelvin, you could do a referral out to any kind of Dark Sky International or whatever best practices, IDA, IES. Find out the new the appropriate applicable standard and apply that. So this gives you the ability to also go down if in a certain application that made sense.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Janice, since we're talking about lighting and commercial lighting, the old LIPA lights? Those
Yes.
That's
big. So those are restricted, if not banned out, totally. They are. That's in our code?
Oh yeah. And
It
not
is.
only that, they went around and took them down. And then we had a backlash
Yeah.
from people who wanted them there. But then we worked with some of those people to get them to come in with
Different
a
lighting.
plan.
Right.
And just, but it's
Right.
expensive, whatever. There was someone in a mobile home park that was very upset because they had like one of those utility pole lights. But
Mm-hmm.
the LIPA went around and removed all of them because we
Good.
had it codified.
I thought I saw one not too
There's
long
still
ago.
some remnant
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
It's not all gone.
Okay,
So,
but that is
we're
in our
trying to
code.
work with them. It is in our code. And we had a lawsuit over it. So, and we won.
Good.
It's always nice.
That's always nice. Any other questions?
Do you need a resolution of
A
support?
resolution referral back to the town board?
Resolution of support.
Right.
Dark
Mine
skies
supports
is important.
Yeah,
Great.
supportive.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for entertaining me first, too. I appreciate it.
Okay, I need to
Hopefully
move that.
we're
Moved by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Janice.
Dennis.
Thank you.
Bye.
Great day. Bye-bye.
Okay, so are we moving along here with Turtle Cove, 777, Turtle Cove? I have to have agenda, right?
I think so.
Because I print mine out.
Yeah. ServPro is still on. It's just handed to us.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. This is 77 Turtle Cove
Cove Drive, which you can see right here on the aerial. We had a public hearing on the final subdivision application, and had a comment period, and the comment period is closed with no written comments or comments at the public hearing. So what you have before you is a resolution to grant conditional approval. Just some standard conditions such as putting in the house numbers on each lot, paying the park fee, following of the required covenants, etc. And those are all outlined in the resolution.
The frontage is both on town roads, right?
Yes, they're both on, it's a loop road, it loops around.
Right.
So, and this was one of those cases where the lots were held in common ownership and they merged, and they're just unmerging the lots.
What about the Conservation Board comments of August 14th, 2024, that they don't support the final subdivision map?
Right, they had initially requested buffers along the proposed rear lot lines here. And we had initially requested that in our pre-app report, but the applicant had come and had a work session with you, and you elected to eliminate the buffers.
It's in the APOD?
No.
No.
And these wetlands here are just outside of the town's wetland permitting jurisdiction.
They're outside.
Did you say that's not in the APOD?
It is not, no.
So, I mean, the Conservation Board talks about clearing removal entirely of the existing native woods, inclusive of mature trees, understory vegetation. So, did we respond to that, or how can we respond to that?
Well, again, that was the initial pre-app comments, and then the applicant came for a work session to discuss that requirement, because we did include the establishment of the buffer, and you elected to waive those requirements.
And that's what the Conservation Board is talking about? They don't mention buffer, they talk about trees, removal of understory.
Right, but part of the reason why they're concerned about that is for wildlife movement corridors, and part of it was to establish those wildlife movement corridors through establishment of a buffer, so that the clearing could, they could preserve some natural vegetation on the lot. But you didn't want to establish those, you elected not to establish those buffers. So in theory, they can clear the entirety of the lot.
Well, I think that's the issue, one is
Yeah.
not the other. A buffer is a buffer, clearing the land is something else, Teresa.
We need a better zoning code on that non-iPod stuff.
I don't disagree.
You know, because that's a wooded lot. The rear of the property is wooded, and that's what the board was commenting on, yeah.
Right. I mean, however, it is a small lot, so
Yeah.
building
How
for a
large?
home, you're gonna have to clear a significant portion.
I was gonna say, how large are the lots?
Each lot, I believe, is just under
Half
20,000 square feet.
acre. Oh, wow, that is small.
Yeah, that's fine. By the time you put drainage, septic,
Everything gets dug up, right?
yeah.
So it's up to the discretion of the property owner as to how much ends up getting cleared.
That's correct.
There are no restrictions on the clearing.
No, unfortunately.
Okay. Are you Turtle Cove?
Yeah.
Oh,
No, he's not.
He doesn't look like Turtle Cove.
he's Turtle Cove about to have a baby.
Turtle Cove.
No other comments?
You know, we've talked a few times about not having the right tool for,
Right.
non-APOD, undersized lots, protecting trees, and Marty Shea, I think, did send along the tree protection law that was proposed a while back. And so what is our course of action in terms of advancing that to the town board?
It's a good question, Teresa.
That code was developed, and had been brought before the town board at a work session, but that was a previous iteration of the town board. I will advise Janice that you wish to see if we can revive that code. And then, we'll take it from there and see what
Good.
can happen.
Do you need a formal request from us, or
I'm
what?
not sure, I'll discuss it with Janice and get back to you on how to best proceed.
Okay, good. So, no further discussion on this. Motion to
Do we, are there
Are there anything, is there anything here,
Have you approved
conditions?
the conditions, Carl?
I did, yes.
Any issues?
Any issues with them? No further
There
subdivision?
was reference to the conservation board, but that was just their opinion. There were no issues with the conditions.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. And then we're going to Bomney Welsker, Mecox Gardens, Prema. Is this the marijuana thing?
No,
No.
it's
It's the old Mecox Garden.
the old Mecox, they had a site plan in 2008 that was conditionally approved for a change of use and a couple of sheds and a storage building. And the change of use was for taking it from like a retail garden nursery to outdoor furniture. And apparently they did all of the requirements. There was a lighting item that I note in here, but all the requirements were met, including all the legal documents and the cross access, but they never updated the CO, and that was back in 2008. And the current tenant was denied a change of tenancy because of that. So they're coming to the request of reapproving the site plan from 2008.
That's an old site plan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been functioning as the retail outdoor furniture since then. They just never had the CO. I'll pull it up here.
Is this Mecox Garden on the corner of,
North Main and
What used to be
Yeah.
Mecox
39.
Garden. I think it's a couple of lots in. It's not really on the corner.
No, it's
There's
one
one
lot.
lot.
It's one lot in the corner.
They relocated to Watermill, Mecox Garden.
oh, so it's the one on,
It's
Does it
on
say
North-
Bayberry? Is that
It's down
Is it
from the
Bayberry?
arm.
called Bayberry or something?
No, it's if this
Can you bring
this
it
is
up?
North Main Street. These are the Ben Krapinski building, and then it's called Merit now.
The Omni is just off screen on.
The
okay, and
Omni
right next
is
to it
down
is the
here.
club, is the?
Yeah, that-
Yeah,
that.
okay, I know where it is.
What is it called?
It used to be Mecox
Capri,
Garden.
yeah.
Right. So we have an application in that building, portion of that building for a marijuana
Yeah,
facility.
for an added. I guess it would be an added use. They have to take care of this.
Right, but I mean, something from 2008. That's what, how old is that, 24?
16
years
Six.
old.
So they haven't
Oh,
finished,
eight,
they
yeah,
haven't
16.
finalized the site.
16 years
They
old.
they did everything. They even did cross-access, they filed all the legal documents, everything was approved by the town attorney. The last item would have been to update the CO, and that was the only item. The previous tenant or owner were the ones that did that. And then they were operating as a retail outdoor furniture all this time. And the new tenants, I believe someone's here, but I think they took over the space a couple of years ago.
So I'm asking for a reapproval without looking at it,
Yeah, we can't
No,
do that.
without looking at what?
at the site plan,
At
and
the
then
site plan.
reviewing it?
So I went to the site to review what it looks like now versus what it was on the survey in '08. Of course, it's much more cleaned up. There's a couple discrepancies. There were, in addition to the change of use, there were two small sheds on the property right here.
I think probably what we're saying is
See
that, we need to see some stuff in order to even discuss it. This is 16 years ago.
Yeah.
So we need to be looking at a site plan and as you're talking, checking it.
Yeah, I can go through it.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to do that if you like.
I mean, I have a note to myself that there was a note regarding a new survey when I read
Yes,
through
so
the
it was
documents.
before you in August, but it was incomplete because there were a couple of discrepancies from the approved site plan versus what's there today. So I deemed it incomplete until they could provide a new survey. We have that new survey now. The biggest differences was there were two sheds here, there's now only one. And there is a larger storage shed here on the west side of the property, I guess instead of that, or in addition to. And the dumpster location used to be back here and fenced in, but now it's behind this shed.
Do you have the new survey?
I do, it's right here. I put small ones in there too.
Yeah,
just
it's in
if
your
you need to. That's the new one, and I have the old one. And the only other item I noticed, when on site is there's a couple of lights that aren't shrouded or shielded.
Mhm.
So that would be a condition of this resolution if you were to entertain or even
So,
history approved.
so they've been operating without a C of O for 16 years, is that
Oh,
what
no,
you're
they
saying?
have a C of O, it's just not a C of O for this particular use. So, yes, I guess.
But they complied with
ultimately
all the provisions of the site plan?
They did, yeah.
Okay. So
All
do
the
we have to,
conditions and all of the submittals.
so do we have to renew the site plan before they can get a CBO, right?
We have to. They can't even do a change of tenancy or anything, unless they come back to the planning board.
But you're saying there's some minor changes from the old site plan?
Yeah, the two sheds and the dumpsters behind one of the sheds, and they would have to comply with the shielded light fixtures before they could get the C of O. That would have to be, still be a condition and all.
So where are your conditions here?
Those are the originally approved conditions, that last page. So everything on there has been done.
But have you added the new ones?
No, the conditions would be all of that still, and then in the resolution, I note the unshielded lighting. So I could make a list of new conditions if you want, or,
Well, I mean, they should be in here, the conditions. All the conditions that we want them to do should be in here, so there are more than these. Am I clear?
no, they're not more than those.
The lighting is 1D, right?
Yeah, I think it is. It's,
I think the language that we want to use, particularly now with Janice having been here, is that all outdoor lighting should comply with dark skies code.
yeah, I think that's in the original condition. So the resolution is to reapprove all of the site plan and all of the original conditions. So that's referenced in the resolution. And it references the conditional approval which you're looking at. And the lighting is the, 1D, Dennis, you're right. The shielded outdoor lighting. There are a few fixtures around the building. I think
Yeah.
there are 3.
So they
that
can't
were
get their C
shielded.
of O until they address those conditions? That
Yeah,
condition.
yeah, that this is the final, they can do
Yeah.
their change of tenancy, and then they would have to, I think they have to get a permit for the larger shed, because the previous sheds were 2 smaller sheds.
Do you mention in here the relocation of the dumpster? I don't see that.
Not in the conditions. No, I can list that in the resolution.
That's what I'm saying, it's confusing for us
Okay.
to know what we're
I could
approving.
edit this and bring it back
Yeah.
and call out all the 2 discrepancies with the shed and the dumpster.
And now
And the-
you
and
want
the
that,
lighting.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, whenever anything is that old,
Yeah.
16 years old, it's,
Sure.
And
And I-
does this, the cannabis application that
I don't
has been
know
discussed,
how,
does
Yeah.
that impact?
I was just gonna ask
That would
once
be a
it-
second use, and they have the footage for a second use. They would have to have this all done, I'm assuming, before they could
You know,
finalize
just so the
that.
board understands that the situation is that, let's put aside the few minor little things here, like a shed. You get 2 years on a site plan to do what you need to do, and then to get a CO. Sometimes things like this happen. They build out the site, and then they don't get their CO. So they come now, in order for them to get an updated CO, we don't have a valid site plan anymore. So they come to renew it. Now, in this particular case, there's a few minor things that have changed. So yes, we'll address them in there. But then you would just reapprove so they could finish doing. All that we have right now is a pending pre-submission application for a second use on this property, and it shouldn't affect what you're doing here.
that's the
at all.
marijuana
That's the
business.
marijuana one.
So how many uses can they have? What is the CO, does the CO say how many uses they can have?
It's based on 1 per 20,000 square feet.
Square
lot
foot,
area.
and how big is this?
It's a 2 acre, just over 2 acre. So they're,
That would be neat.
I
Eight.
think it's like
Eight.
90,000 square feet.
Yeah.
But the cannabis use couldn't be approved if they don't have
A
an
CO
approved CO for the whole property, right? So this would have to take place.
first.
First, yeah.
That's
a
why
step
we
separate
have it, I
application.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
because-
like I said, we don't have a formal, we just have a pre-submission, so maybe we'll note that in the pre-submission.
They can't finalize any of this stuff until we reapprove the site plan. In other
Right,
words, They
Yeah,
can't
they can't
shield,
do anything.
they
with
can't
building
shield the
unless you
lighting
reapprove it.
until they approve the site plan. So if we want shielded lighting, we gotta approve the site plan. They're not allowed to do any
Obviously,
work.
they're always shielded.
So, just thinking about the process here. You know, there's a lot of pre-existing non-conforming issues, and then change of use, you have an opportunity to look at it fresh. In this case, unfortunately, there was a procedural error with the not filing the CO, but we do have an opportunity to look at this fresh without just saying, oh yeah, well, let's reapprove this because they made an error. It's been 16 years, it's a busy area. I'd be in favor of saying, okay, well, we need to
Take a
see
look
a
at
site
it.
plan application and go through the process that way.
I mean, I agree in the sense that there wasn't cross-access efforts then.
Oh,
We-
what?
No, they
No,
have
no,
cross
it's
access to
filed.
the east and the west.
They have filed it
Filed future cross access.
16 years ago.
Yeah, we're that progressive.
Oh my God. Shocking.
They,
So I'm just, I understand Kate's point, but it is a, I should do it for but was a fully vetted site plan at the time. So, it is, as she's saying, they did all the aspects. She's went and inspected. They did everything as called out in the site plan. Actually, there's things that changed, right? Lighting, things upgraded. That's something we definitely want to bring into conformance. We also don't want them to go through an exercise just to go through an
For
exercise.
the process. What about AI, Claire? What about upgrading the septic?
Oh, that would be, I don't think the health department would, they're very similar uses, right? So it was a garden center and now it's a furniture store. Even then, it might
It's the
be even
same,
less.
same, it was a lot heavy retail.
Right.
then. I mean, you went indoors, they had more
Mhm.
stuff indoors than they had anything outdoor.
Yeah, and anything, it could be a lesser use in terms of.
It's retail to
impact.
retail.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
But
I
it's
think it would
more
trigger the
limited
health
to-
department in this case.
And has the cross-access been implemented? Or
Been
is it-
filed.
It's a covenant.
yeah, it's a covenant.
It
Well-
doesn't
Maybe
exist yet.
this is the time to.
To
say,
trigger it,
do
yeah.
We could,
Yeah.
because we definitely have an occupancy. So we could, it's just not gonna go to, Capri and to the east. But it is something you
Don't
could-
we have a cross-access with Capri? Because they were in a few years back.
No, nothing's ever been completed on that site.
And then on the corner is Surf Pro.
No,
No,
it's
corner is-
Kropinski.
Kropinski
Is an
stuff.
office building.
Do we have cross-access
I
there?
think we do, actually, so we could
Okay.
definitely look at that.
Link it up, that's good, and then
Might as
they
well.
can come out on
I'm thinking.
a non-busy road.
So
right?
how do we
Well,
look at
they'll
that if
try.
we're reapproving what exists?
Yep, I mean, as you're discussing this is definitely a good issue that we could look at and see if there's something you could, implement at this point.
Right.
And which would have probably come out if they go forward with their cannabis anyways, but
Yeah.
in this case, maybe we just table this and have it go through if cannabis is coming through, just
Mhm.
have it be one application,
Exactly,
cannabis and
rather than
a
segmented,
garden
yeah.
center.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, the furniture use.
Yes, I would go for that.
But can we do that? Because isn't the cannabis applicant a tenant and now we're dealing with the owner, or am I
And in the
incorrect?
case, we're dealing with an owner. The owner is gonna be part of the cannabis application.
But how
Yeah.
do we deem an application complete if the structure doesn't have the C of O?
Oh, it's just a site plan application, it's a proposal.
So that's what I'm suggesting is that we clear, right now they have a non-conforming CO, operational business, right? And so they need to clear that up by doing a site plan application so we can look at current conditions and potential future uses and the current stage, which a lot has happened since 2008. And we can clean up all the things, look at the cross access, and really talk about the whole site plan, in that context.
And
now,
parking.
if they had submitted their CO and gotten the CO, of course, it would be a different story. But there is an opportunity here to execute a proper plan
I agree.
by going through that
So
process.
we're gonna
Exactly,
tell them they've got
detail
two options. They can table it until they come in with the full application for both uses, or they can proceed with a full site plan application for the furniture.
I think that makes
Use some
better
property.
sense. It's
Okay.
less segmented, yeah.
So
Okay.
that's good.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
so no
Great.
action.
No action.
Thanks, Prima.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Trotta. Anthony, that's you.
they have no site plan.
Right, they have nothing.
We do it quite a bit, though. We renew the site plans so they can get some of those.
They need to be flagged, we need to do this, we need to get the cross access. Needs to be more thorough.
You know Calissa Restaurant, right?
Yes.
Site plan here. Everybody knows where we are. Calissa's Restaurant highlighted here. I believe Willow Road, we have the medical office at the corner that's proposed.
Yeah.
And then the cannabis down here. This is an application. What the application was a pre-submission to do an enclosed patio here. A standalone restroom building here off the existing canopy.
A standalone restroom?
The building with two restrooms in there.
Huh.
And then I guess the expanded parking area, you can see that the parking has been expanded over time.
Do we have a buffer along the back, Anthony?
Yeah, there's pretty good vegetation back here, even around the parking lot. It's pretty good, but we talk about it in here about.
Okay, so let's go with it.
I have to just change the date of the pre-submission conference. That was a bad copy and paste job. It was 10/10/24. So actually, if you just go to the second page, I'll just go through the recommendations, comments. The first thing is occupancy ratings and total number of table seats must be provided at the time of formal. That verifies the parking requirements. That should include indoor and outdoor, all indoor and outdoor. And the parking calculation is based on 1 per 3 rated persons of rated occupancy plus 1 per employee. So when you look at the site plan, which they show delineated parking, the expanded parking, my guess is that parking is more than enough based on the calculation, but we'll get that information. So we'll take the opportunity to clean it up. Let's get what the numbers are and make sure they're put in the resolution so we know exactly how many seats we're dealing with. That's always an issue with the restaurants. Number 2, in addition to the covered patio with outdoor dining and expanded parking area, this proposal includes a proposed standalone restroom building off the existing canopy in the rear of the building. The applicant shall clarify the need for this accessory building, which is generally not characteristic of restaurant uses in the town. It's got to be approved by the planning board. So I just raised the question. It's just something I've not seen very often on a restaurant.
It's a good question.
One,
It's like a porta potty. Yeah.
My guess is to accommodate outdoor diners and stuff like that. But,
And I'm assuming there's bathrooms inside.
Yeah.
Is this going to trigger an IA or?
Bathrooms don't trigger septic design, so we'll get to that because I addressed septic
Okay.
here.
Because I would think.
Well, here to your point, to number 3. So the site plan shows there was a septic system upgrade, I believe, on this property. There's 2 systems, I believe, the site plan shows. There's one here, south side of the building, I guess, and it's shown as an upgraded IA system. And they show a second system here with the grease trap. I don't know how that was designed.
Yeah, I mean, generally, from what little I know, that where the grease trap is, that's got to be a different system from a regular IA bathroom.
And I suspect that that's actually 100% accurate. I'm just a little bit out of my wheelhouse.
So the kitchen.
Yeah. So what I say in there is that the applicant should provide the health department information pertaining to the system, so we know what the capacity is and what they approve, and should clarify, the state of the systems if they're upgraded. Like I said, I believe the one here definitely was, if I remember correctly, something that the town worked with the applicant on. Number 4, it looks like on that plan, the applicant is proposing to repave the entire parking lot, including the expanded area in the back. Obviously, review by our engineer will be required, and the applicant should provide all drainage calculations as well as any existing and proposed drainage. I don't know if any drainage was done, when the septic was upgraded and the asphalt was taken up. So we'll see what the existing and proposed structures are and see if we need what we need on there.
Is there any leeway on our side to say it shouldn't be paved? It should be some sort of permeable surface?
Sure. Yeah. You can say that. And on the parking, I mean, I can't quite see the site plan. Are they doing planting green areas every?
Well, it's in the
Section.
report, so, because you're over 50 spaces, so once you're over 50, that provision of
Every
the code.
20?
It's 25 square feet of landscaping for each parking space.
Right.
And it's stated in there, so. Consideration to permeable surfaces to reduce, stormwater runoff. Just to note that, the handicap parking spaces would need to be compliant, but we'll get to that actually. Number 5, this is all skewed, these maps, so this doesn't cross over the property line. There was an approval for a bluestone patio at the corner here. Looks like that, based on my inspection of the property and aerials, that there's some type of temporary enclosure that comes up and comes down. So that wasn't part of the approval originally, which was an administrative approval. So I'm just noting that in there, that they have to clarify that and address it in this site plan. Because I don't know, being that close to the property line, if there's setback issues.
Well, I remember the CAC, the Watermill CAC, spoke to that issue, and they were very opposed to any outdoor dining because of noise and partying.
Yeah.
And that was all, and that came in. I didn't realize it was an administrative approval.
Yeah, it was a while back. Number 6, there shall be no outdoor public address or music system. 7, the proposed covered patio is to be reviewed by the ARB at the time of formal submission. Number 8, relocate the ADA compliant parking spaces closer to the building. So they're showing them on the other side of the parking lot, basically over here. And that, should be somewhere in the new parking lot closer to the building. They should designate parking for the 2 apartments. There's a CO for this that includes 2 apartments, and they should include those in the parking calculations based on the bedroom count, so we know what the total number of parking, and then designate them on the site plan. Number 10, because there's more than 50 parking spaces, we need interior landscaping at 25 square feet per parking space. So that'll have to be shown on the site plan. The dumpster is pretty visible from the road when you see it. So I'm recommending that they consider relocating it with proper screening and fencing to another part, if at all possible. I'm sure, the applicant will also say, they necessarily want to have a dumpster sitting where the people are, outdoor dining as well. So,
Well, they have space.
So, but yeah, there's space back there.
But also, Anthony, when we saw this, when it was prior to Callista's, they had rooftop mechanicals that were, remember that, Dennis? They had to, the mechanicals were just so, they were huge and they were visible, and we requested that they be camouflaged with some kind of
Architectural parapet or something.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, which we've
So
done.
all they ever did was just paint them. So I think you want to make a note of that.
So when I get to the end of this, I'll get back to that and then we'll add
Yeah.
that
Okay.
application. Number 12, existing vegetation is pretty substantial along the road, and it's actually pretty substantial back here. But we do note with additional outdoor seating and expanded parking lot, additional buffering may be necessary. And we'll see when they come in with the landscaping plan. There may be some buffering around the parking lot, for example. And then maybe something down here, so there's no noise spillover as much as possible.
And cross-access, you have cross-access?
We're gonna get to that
Okay.
actually, yeah. Number 13 talks about lighting being dark sky compliant, what the requirements are, and that no pole fixture should be higher than 10 feet. Number 14, setbacks haven't been provided, but have to be shown, and they should verify that setbacks comply with zoning with the chief building inspector before making a formal submission. And then 15 is the referral to the other agencies, which may warrant additional changes at the time of formal. The 2 additional things then we will add about the
Mechanicals?
rooftop mechanicals. That pursuant to previous review, they're to be camouflaged, to be
Shielded with
shielded,
architectural.
or relocated on the ground or something.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
And then cross-access is
And then
17.
cross-access, I think what we'll say is that the site plan should look at cross-access that may have been.
I think we indicated cross-access
We do,
on the
we
corner
have it,
piece.
it is there, so I think what the report should say that is that cross-access shall be accounted for in the site plan based on the site plan, adjacent site plans, because that's where we start from. So this one here comes back here, the cross-access sits right back here.
And then,
and then we'll see.
We have
'cause we
cross
have it-
access on the new one,
we have an
the
application.
Willow Road.
Where do we have it?
We have
Over
an
here,
active
you mean?
application on that, yeah.
Yeah, that I don't remember because this is not my application. But the point I think what we'll say is that the cross access should be accounted for in this site plan based on what was approved over here on the adjacent property to
And-
north,
and
and then
the
link
west.
up with what's being
What's
proposed down here.
anticipated, yeah.
Whose application is that?
I think
Prentice.
Prentice, yeah.
And we're still working it out, so we don't really
Yeah.
know yet.
But I think it was clear across the back.
This is gonna. I will say it's gonna come across the back here
Yeah.
for sure, because that's where it is over here.
So we have 3 properties, that's great
Yeah.
for cross access.
So we'll put that in there. And that's all I have for that one.
Okay, is anybody here to speak to this? David? All right?
Pre-submission conference, so
Yeah.
take this into account, come back with a formal plan.
Good, okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments?
Move to adopt the report.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
second by Kate, all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Okay, Trotta, Hampton Cove Estates,
Yeah, that's the conversion, the 8-lot hotel converted to the apartments on Canoe Place. Yeah, Canoe Place Road. They've asked for an extension until next week. We're still working out some stuff with the engineer. So extension of the action deadline until
okay,
November 21st.
the agenda for 12/12 is heavy, so
This is going to 11/21/24.
11/21
Next
next
week.
week, okay.
Yeah. Motion.
Motion by Dennis,
Second.
second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Brown Buddha, New York, Anthony, that's you.
Yeah, let me just pull it up. So this is our latest cannabis, or one of our latest cannabis dispensaries. This is actually, this is 1533 County Route 39. Board did the site plan for this. I think this is.
Is that the White House?
This is Nugent. What's the name of that?
Nugent Pond.
Yeah, and then so that's that this year. Yeah, that's right. So what this application is for is really, it's a special exception application. This site plan reflects basically everything that's on the property for which was approved based on a site plan from the planning board previously for this special trade contractor use. And it includes an existing cross-access that was already filed and established as part of this. It's already been opened up with the property to the west. And I'm not sure what's going on with the property to the east, but we'll address it in the report. You know, this is a situation where there's not a ton of site plan issues per se, because the site's been built out and parking's been laid out in the back and all that stuff. So there's some, you know, but it is a special exception use. But we'll go through the report and some of the issues that were raised. But
So this isn't, you said special trade contract.
I think that's what the use is there,
But
full business.
but isn't it office? I don't.
Oh, maybe it is, maybe it is. I
don't drive there, past there that often, but it looks like an office building, not a place where people come with trucks.
No, it's a pool business.
It was a full company, and there are bays on the back of that building.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's, you just wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, where are they gonna put the cannabis shop?
Right in the front here. The floor plans show retail space, storage space, office space, all that kind of stuff. So the entirety of the building would be used for the, but divvied up for the retail area and then storage and bathrooms and all the rest of it.
What number application is this for marijuana?
I think well,
6?
we have one formal application. So let's, Bud Hampton's a formal application. I think we're on number 6 altogether.
Number 6.
Yeah, and you're going to find them on County Route 39. That's where Highway Business is located. So it's coming as no surprise. So there's no referrals during a pre-submission. So we'll go through my comments. The first one just identifies the general and special conditions that the applicant must comply with. So they'll have to submit that as a formal. Number 2, notwithstanding any cannabis licenses issued by New York State for this business, No delivery service is permitted until site plan special exception approval has been granted by the planning board, as well as all other required building permits, state and local approvals. Delivery service does not include curbside or window service pickup, which are strictly prohibited. Number 3.
Anthony, if I could stop there, I believe I read in the paper that they're operating a delivery service out of this building.
We've spoken with the attorney who's here, and he could speak to that. They've been instructed that they can't do that, and he says that they are not doing that.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Well, let Brian get on the record with that, please.
Oh, yes.
That is correct. I had a conversation with
Just give us
Christine.
your name for the
Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, attorney for the applicant. We're clear we are not operating any business delivery activities until we have site plan approval. I've had a conversation with Christine in her office. We understand the town's position and what's needed, and we're proceeding to get site plan approval before any business is conducted.
Great, thank you.
And just so you know, code enforcement has been out there and put on the record that they didn't see any other activities happening, so they did go out.
Okay, thanks.
Number 3, again, I don't think it's an issue, but since these are new regulations, that we'll get an interpretation. This property abuts in the back here what is a right-of-way, a road of sorts. At least that's, you can see it even on historic maps, Fairfield Road. And the center line from the zoning district runs down the middle. So I just asked to get confirmation from the chief building inspector, because the way the code reads, it says you need a 100-foot transitional setback adjoining residential parcels. This is adjoining a road and adjoining, a residential zoning district line. So they should go get the interpretation. If they comply with that, we're subject to it. Like I said, the code says adjoining residential parcel. I think that's pretty clear to me, but I don't want to make that decision. This board doesn't make that decision. So.
Anthony, the subdivision, is that a subdivision behind it?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and what is the undeveloped parcel that's the closest? There, yeah. Is that open space?
It might be. Let's take a look. No, this is like a drainage sump or something. This is. That's privately owned.
So development comes on off. Can't remember the name of it right now. Cold Spring.
Yeah. Oh, it goes all. Geez, that goes all the way back here.
Yeah. Cold Spring Fairways.
Correct. You can't access that off of County Road 39.
Yeah.
So the only developable lot, to my knowledge, is this one just up to the northeast here, the vacant lot next to the house.
Right.
This is a reserve. I believe this is an open space from the subdivision here.
Gotcha.
That is open space.
Yes, I will confirm that, but that's my recollection, understanding, yes.
Oh yeah, you can see.
There are a number of paper roads in this area. Of the old map of Shinnecock Hills, they're unopened. They're a whole slew, and that's one of them.
And there was planting and screening required as part of your prior site plan approval along the rear of the lot, and there's dense evergreen vegetation abutting the unopened paper road that is densely wooded, so that there's adequate screening before you get to the next adjoining.
Yeah, it's not really a right-of-way, it's an unopened road.
Yeah.
And which Anthony will get to, that rear building is actually not part of our site plan.
Oh, it's not on your property?
It's on the property, but it's not part of our use at this point. We end at the parking.
So what is that?
It's just a building that was previously approved on the site when the prior owner developed it. It was probably a storage bay or a garage for trucks when the pool company was operating.
But I noted in here, Jackie.
It is correct, and it will be clarified. And
what about all that? It looks like a paved parking lot. Any greenery or anything back there that can? Yeah.
There was a planting buffer in the rear. There was I'm not sure what it is, but the driveway goes down. It must have been some loading for the trucks. Maybe they loaded trucks from this that structure. But there is a buffer in the northern side of the property between the paper road and our property line.
And what about cross access?
So yeah, well, I'm going to get to that next actually. So their parking calculations, and they can look at it a little closer, indicate that they need 26, and they're providing 24 when you account for the cross access. The site plan indicates that the planning board could waive up to 12 here with a public access easement, but as I explained to Brian, that's not really the public access easement. I'll give you an example. What you did on Flying Point, that group of clustering of the development there, that road in the back is a public access easement.
Yes.
It takes you from Flying Point all the way to, the east end there. And I think that's what the intent was. That being said, so I noted in here whether or not that provision of the code applies.
Exactly.
They're only too short. They have 2 bays here. They could accommodate 2
Correct.
parking, or they could adjust. So we're talking about 2 spaces. So we note it in there, and they could adjust the site plan accordingly. So this cross-access easement exists from the site plan. It's already been opened up here. And what I will note in here, which I don't say, is I don't know what we have on this adjacent piece over here. I think the site plan that we did for this one did note some type of cross-access that might exist for this piece, but I honestly am not entirely sure.
Is that the break?
The break, right?
Break place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
All those cars.
so what I'll note in here is that the applicant should specify in the site plan if there's any cross-access agreements with the adjacent property to the east, and the site plan should be, revised accordingly. There may be something here, I just don't know. The number 5 is the traffic impact study. Again, we've been requiring that the applicants do it. Again, it's got to be within the context of what we're looking at and what we're contemplating. It's not a big mixed-use development, so let's hone in on what the traffic impact will be.
But it is County Road 39.
But it is County Route 39, which, go on to page 3, we go through the standards, the heavy traffic that may be on an initial opening of these facilities. And also, we do say on the top of page 3, that first paragraph, that section of the code also said the plan could require pedestrian circulation plan demonstrating that walkways and sidewalk facilities. So, we'll ask for that as part of the traffic as well. We've been asking for the pedestrian circulation plans as well. And, there's really no place to walk out the highway here, but we'll see. Number 6, I highlighted Axway driveway. It's one way in, one way out. Maybe we'll see what happens with the traffic study. If you guys wanted to know left turns, these are the types of things, that we could look at. We got cross access, that we're contemplating. I'm not really sure how many more changes we can make to access.
And to the west, what's that immediate property to the west? Is that the garage?
It's
It's the old statue shop. Yeah.
But he moved. He moved to Riverhead.
Yeah.
So I think it might be vacant now, or it's something else.
There's a lot of cars there.
Process of becoming vacant.
He's moving the large animals and things, yes. But they're now in Riverhead.
My children enjoyed that store. I'm passing by.
You miss
It
it?
broke up the drive.
When you're sitting in traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone-
There's something to talk about.
Number 7, no floor plan was provided for the storage building in the rear of the property, so how is this space to be used? You had mentioned, this looks like it's going to be a single-use property for cannabis, so address how.
Yep, we'll do, absolutely.
Number 8, I'm just noting that, the existing building and the other site improvements are generally consistent with the site plan that was previously approved, and they're not proposing any changes at this time to the building architecture, so.
When did we approve that? Do you know?
2011.
2011.
Or 2012, one of those. Yeah. Number 9, if delivery service is provided, how many cars do they plan on having, and they should indicate where they would store them.
Delivery service is prohibited.
Delivery service after permits are issued is allowed.
Delivery, not drive-through.
Not drive-through or curbside, correct.
Pickup.
Yep.
And what we were saying was, so the issue is that in this particular case, there's a license that exists. I had a discussion with the Office of Cannabis Management to this property owner or this applicant. So for their purposes, delivery services can occur. However, not until site plan approval has been granted by the planning board. So I'm just distinguishing that you can have delivery, but not until after site plan has been approved. And no pickup, curbside, or window service.
Which I also spoke with Christine about, so we're on the same page on that point.
Okay.
I had a conversation with her on that.
Good.
So people that are wanting to purchase it can either get it delivered or they go into what is a retail store.
Correct.
Those are-
The main business model is delivery, so
Yeah.
we don't believe there will be much of a traffic impact or a high volume of clients as much as we like them in there. Our model is predominantly delivery.
And what kind of vehicles, Brian, do you see that?
I mean,
Cars or?
yeah, regular cars.
Yeah, there's no heavy.
You know, we don't have any specific. It's just
Not a
the
van.
owner's vehicles now, but it would be, it wouldn't be any large, commercial vehicles. It would just be regular.
Maybe the Uber drivers.
We also had a discussion about the paperwork submitted to OCM. We wanted to get copies of all of those applications and what was.
Yeah, we'll provide you everything you need for the site plan approval. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You'll have a full business plan of everything we intend to do, so that there'll be clear understanding of the operations.
And the name of the company, it's going to be called Brown Buddha?
Buddha, yep.
Number 10 talks about the dumpster location, which I think is sitting back here. That's probably the best location for it. So, but it should have a code compliant enclosure and landscaping details.
Yep.
11 is all the lighting information. So again, it's got to be dark sky compliant.
You have the language in there.
What's that?
Number 11, you have the dark. You have the
You have
language.
dark
Yep.
sky,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
good.
Uh,
And lighting, do you have lighting in here?
Yep, number 11 talks about lighting, dark sky compliant. That's some of the
Sorry.
general standards for lighting. Oh, I should put it.
Signage, that's what I meant to say signage.
There's signage language. We'll get there, but yes.
Okay, yeah,
And
15.
we understand the signage requirements.
Okay.
Just so you know, I'm going to add to number 11, no pole fixtures higher than 10 feet. We always been putting that in our reports. 12, landscaping plan is required. Like I said, the site plan was, built in accordance with what was ever approved previously, but.
Yeah, I would offer that it's kind of already been addressed and established, but we'll make sure what was installed is there and sufficient for
a
your
bunch of nice
satisfaction.
trees in the front there.
Yes, nice
But-
street trees.
Yeah. So, number 13 talks about the radius mass to show that they comply with the separation distances between churches, schools, and community centers. 14, detailed safety management plan must be submitted, demonstrating compliance with all state and local regulations. Signage shall comply with all required standards, and I should say, subject to planning board approval.
Right.
We had the discussion about, what they mean by colloquial references. So, the term Brown Buddha is acceptable, Bud Hampton's acceptable, but images of leaves or marijuana cigarettes or smoke or something are not. That's what they're talking about. In this case, the building's over 4,000, so this would be an unlisted action under secret, and therefore they would, submit the long EAF, the traffic impact analysis, and the pedestrian circulation plan. So those would be the issues that we want to look at under secret. And then 17 again is the referrals at the time of formal, which may result in additional site plan changes.
And what about bathroom septics? Is there anything in there now? I mean, was it an office building before?
It was a
correct?
special, the office.
They had an office related to the business, and that's what's going to be converted to
The
the retail space. And the
So-
bathrooms there, and there will be bathrooms, and we don't plan to add any more bathrooms or sanitary flow. It'll have to be ADA compliant.
A separation requirement for cannabis facilities, right? In other words, you could conceivably have one right next to the other.
No.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet.
1,000 feet. Okay.
Yeah. And so, just so you know, Dennis, as these come in, the state is aware of them, and the state gives them something,
Yes.
some type of
The proximity
protection or something.
Correct.
Is what they submit to us, indicating that the state is aware that they're over 1,000 feet from any other proposed.
So the other one up the road.
And so I've also talked to Janice about this. I'm working on seeing how we can get these mapped out for everybody to
That'd
see.
be great.
So you're aware that I'm trying to map them out through GIS, so we can see where they are
Push
in relation
pins,
to each
yeah.
other.
Well, right now, Tuckahoe is becoming a node for these. We have the two on the highway. The Shinnecock Nation has large facilities.
3 on the highway.
3 on the highway. Then the Shinnecock Nation. Is there some sort of community threshold where
No
there's
threshold as to
saturation?
numbers, just the separation distance at 1,000 feet each.
Okay.
Could the town, local municipality restrict the number, or is that again a state
My
mandate?
guess is that's one of the things they would,
They would have, they would say
State law would supersede
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
But the town can negotiate with the state, I would think.
Good luck.
probably not.
in their view, it's a question of preemption, so
That's the word I was
while
looking
we're
for.
using, and they have acknowledged our local zoning, sort of, they're very protective of what they feel would be their right to place, and there's no saturation, so by virtue of the fact that they've spoken as to the 1,000-foot separation, that's their view on saturation, whatever the
Yeah.
landscape will bear.
That's not very much. I mean, I know the communities are now speaking up, saying that the town has to be much more proactive in dealing with the state to discuss this. I mean, it's where we live.
Yeah.
State doesn't live here.
Understood. And,
I'm just surprised the Tuckahoe community, because they used to have a very active civic association,
They don't.
and now
have
they're
it.
becoming
They
little
don't-
by little a node. And this is a regional node because East Hampton doesn't have it, and people are going to be coming from, all over to their community for cannabis purchases.
Yeah.
The Tuckahoe CAC is not really in existence these days.
It's a Tuckahoe issue, no? They used to be very.
Very, yes.
When
Good
Bon
friend of
Gilbert
mine
left,
was
they got very
running
quiet.
that, and that she's
Anthony, number
moved to
17.
Florida and then died.
That's where everyone
Referrals to
goes.
all involved agencies. Now, this doesn't change the curb cut or anything like that. Would this still go to Suffolk County DPW?
I have been referring any site plan application that fronts on the DPW road or DOT road to the
Good.
respective.
Because we did,
agencies.
under the task
And I
force
say
actions.
this because this happened with, and I use this example, Creative Touch Landscaping, where they went in for a change of tenancy and a change of use, and the state or the county made them redo the entire sidewalk there. They made them reduce the curb, and they made them put in like a turning lane or something. So
Yeah.
I never know.
Good, just
So we
wanted
do
to
refer.
make sure, because we should be sending
We
everything.
always do.
Okay,
So
Thank
are
you.
we having any traffic review here?
Yep, it says it in here. to do
Okay,
with traffic.
and when we approved this in 2011, and we imposed cross-access, was there anything to the east? Was it indicated to the east?
So that was one of the things I'm adding to this report, as I said, was that the application indicated this site had any cross-access as part of the development of this site. Here, it's there and it's already opened up, as you could see. Then it comes through here and then it stops here. The question is, does this site have something in place where we could make the connection? And I don't know the answer to that, but I raised it in here that the applicant should indicate, and we could provide that information.
Those cars are parked in the road? Can you just explain that?
It's an auto body shop.
It's
I
an
think
auto
that's
body
just-
shop, and they're utilizing.
They're utilizing the paper road as their
That's their
property.
parking lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's I'm almost thinking that may actually be a town road. For some reason, I thought the town had taken all the entire Shinnecock Hills map in as town roads in the 1930s. This came up in that Shinnecock golf course where they.
Right.
you
Oh, yeah,
probably
yeah,
know.
with the roads going through.
Yeah,
or
so all
these-
these paper roads are they're unopened, but they're actually town roads.
Right.
So
So do we have to check that? I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so.
I note in here that, there appears to be what is a road or right of way. Beyond that,
Did you check that out, Brian? Do
I
you
mean,
know?
there is a paper road or 50-foot wide road showed on the subdivision map. You can probably,
It's
sorry,
a
pull it
map
right up
road.
on here,
it's
but
Map Road.
Yeah,
it's unopened. It's
unopened.
Say
But
until
it's
the
a town road.
decides
It might be a town
to
road.
do something with it.
I mean, I mean, I don't.
Town will never open that.
It's, I don't. Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere, and it would probably upset the neighbors to the back. And
Because it would take some of the load up County Road 39.
I don't know that it would though, because it won't connect anywhere. It's a dead end to
It's
it.
the old
doesn't,
North
yeah.
Highway.
It would just dump into the back of Nugent and Potter.
We could go back to our access management plan and look and see if
Yeah.
Dunn Engineering addressed that. I remember some discussions of it, but I don't think there was any.
Can you make a note of that,
Action.
Anthony, in the report, to check the access management plan?
But there certainly is a recorded cross-access easement, and it's actively in use with the lot to the west.
Yeah.
It
Opened
is?
and yes,
I mean, the one
you can
thing
you can
we
pull
have
in
to
and
provide
drive
that.
right through. I mean, time to time there may be a truck, parked there, not permanently, but just whatever. But like as you can see in that area, but there's an open cross access. There's paint lines so people don't park there.
Oh, yeah.
And
So we have an opportunity when that vacant building, the statue building, comes in to the west.
Well, Dennis was about, what were you saying about it?
I'm saying, don't we have to tell them if there's an access? We're telling the applicant to go research the file and the site plan.
I mean, there's certainly there's a recorded cross access easement.
No, we're talking about this property to the.
I don't know if they ever bound themselves to it.
I didn't find anything, Dennis. Here's what I could say. In my research, I didn't see that we have anything in place.
That we don't.
However, on the site plan that it was approved for this,
It contemplates it.
it contemplates it in the language that I don't understand, to be quite honest. I can't tell you if one was actually put here or not based on what was written for this site plan. So I just, I'm
So
not
when that
entirely sure.
Hampton break comes in, that's when they'll activate it.
Right.
That's my guess is that there's one that's not in place yet and that we will have to put it in place when they come in.
It will be hard to get through there.
Yes.
Especially the way they
based on
use
this,
it. There's actually a good amount of vegetation there too. So you can see there's some trees and
Yeah.
in where the access would be if you're on site.
But on the property to the west, the statue place, I mean, we would be able to close up some of that open expanse on County Road 39. Because it's just a wide open space now.
But the easement on this property, Dennis, goes from here and comes right up to the property line here.
And
So
you're saying it's used, Brian?
It's with the lot to the west. Yeah, it's active. You can pull in today and drive through there. There's an open.
It's built out, in other words.
Correct. Yep. It was implemented.
So with those few minor changes, I recommend
Adopting the draft. Any other comments? Is that it? Motion by Kate, second by Gloria, and all in favor. Opposed, abstentions. 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Brian.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Claire, PC Richards.
Yeah, this is an oldie. We had a maintenance bond on this from 2009, I think. I guess what happened is after the 2 years, we couldn't get in touch with them. So we discovered it, we've been in touch with them now, and we would release this maintenance bond for the landscaping, which is in good shape. We've seen the landscaping recently. And that amount is $17,550. That would be the
Is this
release
the
of maintenance
original
bond.
building or the new building?
The new building.
Is there a way to address temporary signs that
Oh, sure.
popping up on there?
Yeah. Yeah. Subject to the signs to be removed.
Yeah.
Are they there now?
Every other day there's mattresses
Sales.
one day, barbecue grills the other day. It depends on the season.
Little lawn sign.
If you approve this, I will make sure we don't release this until the signs.
Good.
Signage is,
Yeah.
good.
No problem.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Second. Okay, motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
And my next one is
Loaves and Fishes.
So we were awaiting the town engineer to approve this. We reviewed, in, I think in October, the latest staff report. So we're just reviewing the decision in this case.
Thanks.
You have this, right? Okay. And let me get you some plans, so you can look at them. Those are the site plans, there's 3 of them if you want to share.
Hang on to one, we'll share.
The pergola is gone.
It is?
No. Pergola's not done.
Pergola's there or?
Put the crochet.
Porch is there.
Yeah.
I've had it. Yeah.
Do they, Carl, do they plan on building, getting started right away?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Bulldozers
They're
have
ready to
their
go.
engines on.
Yeah,
We still have to go through the landmarks board, remember? The
Really?
historic
Oh,
board.
wow.
yeah, but that's understandable now, right?
Yeah, that's in the historic district.
So I just at the last page of your packet is the town engineer conditions. And so these were all made conditions of the approval, so I've incorporated them into the decision. So you just want me to read the conditions?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So approving the site plan in this case, all plans shall be stamped by licensed professional. And then B through H are all the town engineer little notations that need to be made in the plans. The lighting plan to note the lighting poles to be a maximum of 10 foot tall. And then add the street trees along Montauk Highway. There was one noted, but I just wanted the two street trees noted along Montauk Highway. 4A through G, general conditions, the screening of the mechanical systems, the all LED lights should be 3,000 Kelvin or less. Now that we have a code that's actually doing 2,700,
Yeah.
I'll change it.
Yep.
Okay, so on this one, it'll be 2,700 or less. No stone lighting fixtures, no additional lighting on the property without planning board approval. All lighting shall be shielded. Speedy's permits, the SWIP permit, which is G. H is the pre-construction meeting. I is to, okay. I is actually struck. That's left over from another project. J is, the new I is no public address systems. Affidavit, 6 sets of plans, items to be completed prior to the issuance of building permit, DOT approval if necessary. B is submission of declaration of covenants for the following. The landscaping on the northern and eastern boundary lines of the subject property adjacent to 41 Butter Lane, required by the planning board site plan approval, and ZBA's variance approval shall be installed and maintained in good living and healthy condition. 2, the outdoor lighting in the rear parking area should be set forth in the planning board's approval and shall be installed so as not to shine on or emanate beyond the subject property. The submission of the cross-access easement agreement and all covenants and easements shall be reviewed and approved by the town attorney and filed with the county censor. And then prior to a CO is the 2-year maintenance bond. For your consideration.
Just quickly, I know that representatives of the two neighbors are present. The approval does specifically mention the covenants which have previously been submitted to the town attorney's office. Now that if you were to adopt this today, then she would begin her review. I would ask if, with the board's permission, if the neighbors could have an opportunity to speak. They had asked. Do you have a problem with that, or
To address the board?
You
Yeah.
speak now. I mean, I
Okay.
don't think they can, but can you?
They had
relate
just
what
asked to
they're
weigh in. If rather not, I can just say, I mean, it does mention it. Are you comfortable as mentioned in the report?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all we were gonna say. Is that
Okay.
All right, well, you could say it to him, that's good.
Great. So, as mentioned in the planning board's draft resolution, I'll just note that we understand their consent to this was conditioned on that covenant, which we have already submitted for approval.
Okay, do we
Okay.
want to
Other than that, I
include
think
that
it's-
in there?
Well,
That's
no, we're not
typical.
gonna
The town
expand
attorney
on that.
approval
That's your.
of the legal documents is
Okay.
part of the.
But the terms
condition.
are fine as
Copacetic.
outlined in the draft, and we are fine with the draft.
Great. So you'll get started on this then, huh?
Well, we have ARB and then the building permits, but after that, we'll get.
Landmark.
Yeah,
I mean, landmarks, I'm sorry, yeah,
Landmarks,
yeah.
yeah.
Then the building
That
permits.
should go.
Yeah.
It looks very attractive.
Yes.
Okay, any comments?
Motion.
If I could just say one thing with regard to street trees, doesn't necessarily apply in this situation, but I think going forward, we may need to be careful, ask the applicant to be careful in the placement of those street trees. Here, there's a traffic signal at that intersection, so the line of sight for someone coming out of Butter is not necessarily a problem. Up at Greenfield, which again, I think we've all read a great deal about the issues, concerns of residents at Greenfield. One of the issues that's come up now is a street tree just to the west of Greenfield that seems to be obstructing the line of sight. I don't know if that was part of the town planning board instructions at that time or not. I don't know if Ryan Murphy is
By Harding Plumbing?
by Hardy Plumbing.
Yeah.
I don't know if
I think most of this.
Well, and
trees
not
don't have a
not my
canopy.
time. We,
Right.
we had a site plan there, but that street tree was there.
I think,
Yeah.
again, going forward, we need to work with the applicant and the town to make sure that a street tree is not planted in a location where it may obstruct the
Yeah.
line of sight. So, again, since we
I don't
mentioned
have
street
the-
trees now,
I don't have a landscape plan here, but there are probably two here, right? Two street
there's
trees?
two.
Yeah,
And
there's one proposed, and then we just would add another one.
Add
I
another.
just left it
And
as
there's a-
two, but that there'd be two total
Right.
on that.
Right.
Usually street trees are on the person's property,
Right.
so they're pulled back.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is a good point, and so we should be cognizant of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're on the property.
Signalized intersection, it's not.
We require
as
them
much of an
on
issue.
the
Yeah.
person's
On the
property,
person's
not
property.
in the right of way.
And I think this one,
This
that's
is a
problematic.
signalized intersection.
Right, this is signalized, so again, just because we happen to mention street trees and been working a little bit with the Greenfield concerns there. And so just wanted to mention it
Good
while I
point.
thought of it
Mhm.
going forward.
Oh, good point.
Especially at unsignalized intersections where, you know, we don't obstruct the line of sight.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good point.
So when you start to construct, you're going to be using Butter Lane primarily for the construction trucks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have to indicate that anywhere?
No, we don't, but,
There's no,
I don't think they wanna interfere with their own business, obviously, operations on Montauk, but we
Well,
could.
maybe Carl, yeah, I mean, because it should, I mean, it's gonna disrupt Butter, but it's better than disrupting
Yeah.
27.
So you wanna say, do you want it as a note on the site plan, or do you want it as a general condition?
construction, all construction activity shall access,
Make, Butter.
General condition?
yeah,
Yeah.
general condition.
That's fine.
Is that okay?
This is the architect, I just wanted to.
Just in general,
Can you
where,
identify yourself?
Sean Leonard, the architect, you can see where the entrance is gonna be between the residents and, I mean, that's going to be where the construction entrance is gonna be
Way
placed.
down here?
No,
Here,
right there.
here,
That's
yeah,
where they're gonna put it, cause then afterward,
Off-
they're gonna pull it out and
off Butter.
front
Well,
of
we
butter.
wanna indicate
Cause
it.
that's the most logical
You have
spot to
no
have it, cause
idea-
that'll access both buildings,
You have no idea how many overclearing things we have to approve because, oh, the builder didn't really know, couldn't get in, knocked down the fence,
So just add it as a condition that construction access is off of
off
Butter,
Butter.
which is the
So
plan
it's on the
anyway.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah, which would be the plan.
Thank you,
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, I added that as a general condition.
thank you, Claire. Anything else?
I'll move it.
Motion to approve by Dennis, second by Tom. 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much.
Yeah,
Thank
keep
you,
the line, Carl.
Until the next
Take
one.
Take the rest of the day off.
One more.
It'll be nice to see
Oh, that's
that
right.
You have one
corner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Set this up, thank you.
Carl,
Bussel,
which one do you have?
Seth,
Yes,
Which one do you have? Go ahead, yourself.
we have Blue Soul number 4 LLC, 1368
Last,
Beyond Riverhead Road.
Thank you.
Passing out a draft staff report for your review.
Seth, you don't need one?
I think I kept one for myself. Yes.
What is it?
I would call your attention immediately to the action deadline. The Blue Soul number 4 was deemed complete on October 10th, which started the statutory time frame of 62 days, putting it at December 11th for the deadline. That's one day before the next meeting. And with our holiday calendar, I have run into a situation where the Central Pine Barrens Commission is having their next meeting on the 20th of November, and they wrote me a formal letter asking for an extension of time in order for them to weigh in on this project. As you may recall, one of the main concerns with this project was the overclearing and the septic flow, which is the domain of the Central Pine Barrens Commission. So I had, as a courtesy, I did reach out to the attorney, who in turn reached out to the applicant, who was willing to grant a
one day.
well, it's a week
A
till the
week
next
extension.
meeting. So we bump everything.
To
It's
the
in reality
21st.
one day.
Yep.
So just to throw that out there, they are asking, or I should say, the planning division is asking for an extension, which they concur with.
To December 12th.
Yes.
but
Got it.
Seth, just to clarify, I thought that the plan now is to stay within the clearing, the allowable clearing.
No, they are still
They're still
acquiring credits for both the septic flow and for the
Oh, for the overclearing,
0.55% overclearing.
Okay,
So we can look at that. That is the main, that is the one point of contention that should be, I feel like we should wait to hear from the Central
Yeah.
Pine Barrens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I can either table the staff report for now, and we address it later on, or we can have a crack at it now, and you can give me more.
Seth, they requested the extension.
I asked them, and they gave me an email back saying, yes, we grant an extension.
Okay.
Well, you can, why not go through it?
Sure
You're
enough.
here, and then on the 21st, we can,
Yeah,
That's gonna be a heavy
I
meeting.
could probably
Yes.
use the extra time. This is my draft, so. So, just circling back on October 10th, the site, the SEQA review was conducted and a negative declaration was filed, thus deeming it complete. The site is, the application is for a 5,000 square foot accessory building located in this area, which will be turned into a spray booth. It is a type 2 unlisted because of that size of the accessory building. But again, a negative declaration. The fact that it is in the APOD and the Central Pine Barrens compatible growth area is the one issue that we are still trying to work our way through with this application. The applicant has acknowledged that they plan, or they are in the process of trying to acquire the permits for both the septic flow, which I have down as, sorry. I'll get to it in
1440.6
a moment.
gallons.
It's 168, I believe, gallons. But it's in my report. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. 165.8 gallons per day to offset the additional 200 gallons per day that will be contributed by this new accessory building. It's important to note that they are also proposing an IA system as well in conjunction with this.
in the main building.
No, off of the accessory.
Ah, okay. So just, that's contained within the 5,000 square feet?
No, it is in the parking lot in between the main building and the accessory unit.
So does the site plan show that?
Yes, it does. You have the hydronic 500 IA system. So it was sent out for the appropriate referrals. The Department of Public Safety and Fire Prevention weighed in with some of the standard requirements, not to impede vehicle access, emergency vehicle access, street numbers, and unit numbers should be posted. The drainage to be relocated out of the roadways or capable of supporting the heaviest apparatus. I had looked into the IA system, and it was noted in the site plan that it was capable of carrying 20,000 pounds of load, something along those lines. It's something maybe I need to see what the heaviest apparatus is in the Eastport Fire District.
Might be more than
Might be
20,000.
worth looking into.
Yeah. You know.
The fire departments, they're double checking that when they do the building permit, so you
Okay.
don't have to worry about
The fact that they mentioned it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The key box has another condition, and they also put a condition that the area is served by public service water mains and a fire hydrants. The nearest hydrant is in excess of 950 feet. A fire hydrant shall be installed within 400 feet of the building as required by the fire code.
And they've agreed to do that?
I have not heard word that they would agree, but I assume they won't get approval without.
Without that?
Yes. Again, I noted the Central Pine Barrens wishes had a formal letter for an extension, which I mentioned to you. I have yet to hear from the town engineer, the Southampton Fire District. The Architectural Review Board did weigh in on November 5th with a no action determination. No word from the Suffolk County Planning Commission as of yet, and the Suffolk County Department of Health Services had prior, on September 17th, deemed this application incomplete, pending the secret determination and the receipt and redemption of .55 Pine Barren credits. And obviously, a permit for this, for the Suffolk County Department of Health Services would be required pursuant to sanitary code. And lastly, the Citizens Advisory Committee West has yet to weigh in. And then I have reviewed the general standards, as this is just a site plan. It has exceeded these standards. I did want to call out some of the things that I felt important to the planning board and maybe worth noting. I had found that the use is in compliance as it is in the LI 40 zone, and it is surrounded by other LI 40 uses. There is a CR 200 to the east, but this is it has been since 2016 a special trade contractor, and this is just an expansion of that use. I wanted to point out that they have had to increase their parking significantly. There's 78 required spots, parking spaces as stands without the accessory unit. At the end, there will be a requirement for 94. So doing my calculation, I noted that they only had 4 handicap spots. It was my understanding that 5% would bring that up to 4.7. So we're going to require another handicap spot as well. There will be minimal, they had proposed 6 new employees for this site, which was not a minimal impact on traffic, and they had met the parking, so I did not see anything further to recommend or call out in that part of the application. In terms of landscaping and screening, this was not proposed for this application, but I should say that the natural features and the preservation of the surrounding undisturbed area is of paramount importance for this application and yet to be fully fleshed out. Consistency with the master plan, I did want to mention that perhaps we could look into applying some of the climate action plan recommendations, high albedo roofs, energy conservation measures, solar. Those are not conditions of any of the final site plan. If that's something that interests the planning board, I'd be more than happy to put something in there.
We have a
should
segment
always
of
ask.
text, right?
Okay, just
That Claire, you have that, right? Sort of a copy and paste of the text that we always put in.
it's in the end. Yeah, I skipped ahead kind of the energy conservation. Yes, it's in the step.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Was there additional text that you would recommend putting in, or does that satisfy?
Well,
what you
I guess my concern is as we're getting almost to the end and the final adoption, when are we able to get that in there, if at all possible? So they haven't. I don't think it has come before the board. The board hasn't recommended it yet, so.
We're little feedback from the applicant. So we're asking for this additional giving suggestions. At the minimum, though, we're pretty much asking for charging, right?
Yeah.
Stations. So,
Okay.
in this case, it would be 4 charging stations.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
5
I think.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have
So if they're not willing to do anything further, but maybe they are. So
Okay.
I think it's worth asking.
Okay. So I can see if I have a response from them on that for the next iteration. And then in terms of lighting, I have the dusk to dawn lighting provision. It is in their site plans that they will be in compliance with dark skies ordinance.
Can you use those words? Dark skies, please?
Yes.
And the
You
2700
can drop the
now.
LEDs down to
So they
2700.
do show lights that are 3,000 Kelvin. So am I to
2,700
to
Go
go
down
down and ask?
For proposed and existing, right? We want to
It's proposed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't know what's there, but whatever's there, they can lower the lighting to
Okay.
2,700.
To, yeah, come into compliance with the current
Okay.
standard.
So it's proposed the town board's gonna adopt that 2,700.
Well,
Yes.
we're implementing that standard now.
Yeah.
It'll be code soon, but we have the ability to implement that now.
So, I'm not very knowledgeable of, it's not just a change of light bulb though, is it?
That's the entire fixture on an LED.
An LED? I wish we had Brenna, she's our expert of lighting. I'm not quite sure if that's just a change of fixture, but this is a good question. We'll ask the applicants if they're willing to change it. And we'll get some information, whether it's just a change of light bulb that could do both 2,700, which would be easy.
Right.
Or is it a change of fixture if you're doing the difference? So we'll ask that question, we'll find out about
Okay,
that.
well, we just gave to Janice, approval.
Good.
And support for the 2,700 Kelvin.
Yeah, and it's easy to do on a new site plan, right?
Right.
Boats and fishes, brand new,
Yeah.
everything's gonna be, but for them to retrofit the existing on the existing building is a good question.
I don't know how many lights they have.
Yeah, it's a big building, so they have some lights.
Yeah, the
going on.
existing building is a footprint of 31,000 square feet.
Yeah.
The
Would have been
existing,
great for solar.
Yeah.
That's another code.
That's gonna take 10
Claire,
minutes.
is this area anywhere near the Spion Plume, or am I confusing it with something?
it is,
It's on the other side, isn't it?
it is, and the accessory building is proposed to be on a
Yes,
basement.
south of it.
However, it's my understanding that the plume has been fully remediated and is not really is not an issue that the planning board needs to address any longer.
Well, we could have it as this
Can-
paragraph.
Can you mention it?
Yeah,
Sure.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. It will probably have language in the original staff report on that, so. we'll
Is
include
there a
that.
DEC report or some kind of determination issue that we could just?
Attach, reference.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
This is good. This is why we're
So
keeping our
Seth,
heads up.
yeah, so if we get all of this done as we're doing now, then
Yes.
when you come next week and you have
Yeah.
the Pine Barrens report,
Yes.
We can,
then
Then
we
you
don't
Then
have
you
to
just
go
do the
through this.
conditions.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Great.
It's back to landscaping and screening. Did you
Yes.
say the application does propose additional landscaping
No.
or not?
Does
Okay,
not.
Does
the
not.
word "not" is missing
Oh,
from,
okay, that's
from
corrected, okay.
does not.
Does not, right? An
Yes,
important
of course.
word,
It's little, but it's
a little bit
mighty.
big.
That's an important word there. Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
I will make the corrections and tighten this up with your input. And,
Do
And
the
we'll-
extension, right?
and we'll
You'll
file
get
for
the
ex-
extension, yeah.
Yes,
So we need a vote on that extension? Motion
December
to,
12th, yes.
motion to extend by a day,
second.
say, by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 6 in favor, 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you. Anthony, you're,
Old Staples is off.
Old
Oh,
Staples, Old Staples is off,
okay.
11 is off,
And 10 was the
10 we did
346,
already. That
we
was,
did that,
the lighting.
right. So Teresa, you have Anthony.
Riggio.
Riggio.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, well, Anthony,
Let me get
figured
you
out
out.
the computer, okay.
Yeah, I think we're good now.
So this is the Louise Riggio horse farm where they intend to demolish the existing riding arena and construct a new riding arena and stable, new additional stables. What's the address here? So for some history and background, right now this open space parcel is divided into 2 separate ag reserves. The ag reserve 1 allows for structures, ag reserve 2 does not allow for structures. Last year in 2023, you had received an application and request to reconfigure the ag reserve so that they could more easily configure the buildings. And you were generally recommended approval of that. The covenant came in with the application for that covenant amendment, as part of the process for the review for the site plan, we received the covenant amendment. Christine just looked at it a couple of, was it last week? last week. And based on the actual covenant amendment, we can review the staff report, but we can't really adopt the staff report and grant conditional approval because the town board has to grant final approval of the reserve easement reconfiguration. Because we can't grant approval for structures on property that they can't put structures on. So I'm going to bring a resolution. The action deadline was supposed to be next week. So what I'm going to do is we'll go over the staff report, and I'll make whatever necessary amendments, and then we can adopt the staff report, but deem the application incomplete, subject to town board approval. And then once we have the approval, the resolution for the approval for the site plan is drafted. We can put that on the next meeting after the town board issues a permit. So generally speaking, the traffic and interior circulation, the project complies with those requirements.
Where are you?
I'm on page 6.
Oh, okay.
Site plan standards.
Yeah, okay.
Site plan standards.
Great.
So generally speaking, again, the applicant demonstrates compliance with the traffic and interior circulation and parking requirements. The landscape and screening requirements are also in compliance, along with the development in a manner consistent with the master plan. There aren't any natural features that need to be worried about or cultural features. The pavement, all of the access drives are to be constructed with pervious materials. Number H, the lighting, I have to double check that to see if it's now going to be the 2700 Kelvin. If not, then we can request that they amend the project to
That would be in the
include that.
conditions, yeah.
Facade was generally approved by the architectural review board. Drainage was a question that the engineer had some additional information that they requested, but I believe they're working that out with the engineer. The main thing that we have a concern about was the fire district had requested that they install fire hydrants on the property, or up to the driveway of the property. The closest fire hydrant is down here, which is more than 2,000 feet away. And they are requesting that the applicant install a fire hydrant every 900 feet up here. So the question is, do you want them to do that? It seems like a reasonable request, but it's also a very costly request to the applicant.
If you go slightly north of there, isn't there, I know
there's no, this is the nearest water main.
That's the nearest one? Okay.
Yeah.
Because they did a lot of water main extensions in that area.
Yeah, I mean, unless this map has been recently updated, but I can't imagine that it would be anywhere other than in Great Hill Road, which is even.
Great Hill, that
yeah.
it is, I know, but that's further away?
Yes, even further away.
Okay.
Well, I think that's a burden for a barn building.
Yeah, it
to
seems
install,
a little unfair.
Yeah.
And they do have two 10,000-gallon underground water
Wells.
storage tanks that they're proposing for irrigation purposes. So that could also be used for fire purposes, correct, Mike? If necessary.
Bailey Larkin with Bennett and Reed, offices at 212 Windmill Lane in Southampton. I'm not aware of that. I do know our client, whether or not we can use the rainwater cisterns for fire suppression systems. We had actually asked that this be adjourned for discussion tonight because we're further exploring other options for fire suppression. Directly across the street from the entrance to this property actually is a fire well that was required pursuant to a subdivision years ago. Just to keep in mind, and there's like a little tiny lot. I think it's a little bit north of the entranceway. We can get a copy of the subdivision map to show you that it's actually there. But we were looking into whether or not installation of a fire well on our own property would be sufficient for it. But we are intending to sprinkler the building also. It is a significant burden to try and require an agricultural property to extend a water main 2,000 plus feet and install hydrants every 900 feet along a public right-of-way. Yeah. So we had asked to just adjourn this till next week because we'd like to give you kind of a solution. in lieu of extending the water main and putting hydrants in that would adequately provide
So
fire protection.
You'll speak to the fire commissioners about it?
Yeah, and we're also having our MEP discuss it with our property owner to see what options we have on site. Because, if there's the potential of putting a fire well, if they're concerned about the size of this building on this property, we would have our own fire well on site for fire protection services.
So you're asking to extend the action deadline?
Correct. Yeah, we had filed a letter requesting an
Right,
extension.
they had requested that the discussion be adjourned today. However, you recently requested that we review the staff reports anyway.
Yeah.
And then,
stay while we
they
review
would
it.
have
Save-
time
save
to do
some time.
to the other issues. And at the end of the day, it's, the application can be deemed incomplete until the town board acts, so you have time to address those issues. They're not proposing a PA system. It's a proposed private operation, so ADA compliant, physically challenged access is not a requirement. They're proposing to install solar panels atop the riding ring to offset energy usage, and there is no other property owners in a close proximity to provide adjacent improvements. Architecture, again, was approved by the ARB, and it is in the Ag Overlay District. So, again, the question is, the Ag Reserves need to be, reconfiguration needs to be reviewed by the town board. Generally speaking, going through the general special exception standards and then the specific exception standards for the horse farms, those are all laid out in the report, and they're generally compliant. The two main issues were the agricultural reserve reconfiguration and the water main extension, which seemed burdensome, and obviously they're looking at alternatives, which is great. But the rest of the report is pretty much demonstrating that they comply with all the other conditions. It's existing horse farm now. It's going to be an existing horse farm. The one thing that is the question is that the size of the building is 24,000, just under the 24,000 square foot maximum, but you have to confirm that anything over the 15,000 square feet is acceptable.
So they're going to demolish this barn?
That's correct. So what they're going to
And
do
then-
is demolish this barn, build a new barn like right over here-ish, and then build a stable that's connected by a breezeway over here. And because the ag reserve, the way the ag reserve is configured over here, they needed to extend the ag reserve here, and then they gave up some of the other ag reserve somewhere else.
So just from a process standpoint or procedural standpoint, next week they may have or may not have a solution about the fire well. We're going to deem it incomplete anyway, so should we not deem it incomplete now? It makes sense.
You could do that, yeah. I mean,
Just
it's
deem it
really a
incomplete
matter
and
of
get it off
policy.
Yeah, I
the
was just going to
agenda.
put a formal resolution together to put before you, so that you had a formal resolution. I can draft one up tonight. That's no big deal.
A resolution for what? What do you mean? To deem it incomplete?
To deem it incomplete.
I mean, they can just deem
Okay.
it incomplete.
We can deem it incomplete now. I mean, you can.
Okay.
I mean, the
And
town
then
board's
I'll-
not gonna,
All right, so I'll take.
So you won't have to come next week.
I'll draft a resolution that says that you deemed it incomplete,
yeah, it's a
and
simple.
then they won't have to come next week.
Yeah,
Just
just
do a verbal now so you can vote on it.
we can vote on it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Moved by Dennis to deem this incomplete. Second by Gloria. All in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. 5 in favor, 2 absent. Good.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
Thank you, man.
Enjoy your turkey.
Would it be okay if we just kind of skipped ahead real quick? I have two quick ones and then one small discussion.
Okay, I didn't do it for Anthony, but I'll do it for you. Because you're a mother.
Yeah.
And you have children waiting for you.
That's
I'm gonna
sexist.
do these two. These are gonna take
Well,
30
it's
seconds
true.
each, and then do.
She's always racing.
What are you-
Don't
what are you
care,
taking us
kids.
to?
Where are you going?
So, Watermill Museum,
Okay.
the water, and then 810 Agricultural Museum. The
So
Watermill
it's number
Museum,
21.
the Watermill Museum is looking to upgrade their septic system to a new IA septic system, and that's it. So we
great.
are deeming the application complete. I am recommending that the public hearing be waived with a 10-day comment period. So that's it.
Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Motion by Kate, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
The
Number
sec-
2022, 810 agricultural building.
Yes, that's on 810 Lumber Lane. We did a subdivision called M4 Lumber on that one, and they are looking to build an ag reserve. An agricultural building on the ag reserve, and it is incomplete.
They are already have built the ag reserve. The whole property has been planted, fenced, and it looks to me like an illegal fence. I don't know, it's a fence with a fabric cover across the front.
Yeah, there's some issues because the site plan does show 2 rows of fencing, a shorter fence, and then a larger 8-foot ag fence, like 4 feet behind it. And I know that Marty's going to have a lot of concerns about that because it can trap wildlife, particularly young deer, between the two, and they can't escape, and that's a problem. And we generally recommend against double rows of fencing because it can trap the animals. So that's one of the things that the checklist does address.
So did we ever see this site plan?
No, it's incomplete. It just came in October, and it's incomplete.
So how come they're doing what they're doing? Everybody's asking me what's going in there.
Violation, probably.
It's a violation.
So, I'll stand up here.
Please.
That's the M4 subdivision that we did not too long ago. We did a 4-lot subdivision with the ag reserve. So that was all filed probably within the last 2 years or something.
And that was the tricky one with the
so
drainage and the
because it is an ag
swale.
reserve, it is subject to approval to put ag structures in there for this board. And there were issues with that ag reserve being disturbed. They went in there, they did some disturbance, and it's we're in with engineering.
They cleared the entire site.
They regraded. They did all sorts of stuff in there. There's a drainage easement that goes through the ag easement. So, and it caused flooding. So that's been right.
Yeah.
And so we're dealing with that. Tom's been dealing with that. We've been trying to fix that situation.
So have they stopped? Is there a stop work order?
Well, they did. Yeah, there was all sorts of violations that were issued, and they had to re-go to Tom and do new plans. So, yeah. So, just give you a heads up. We're on it, but
in the process, and this is for an actual ag reserve building, an ag building on the structure.
So why are
in
we?
addition to tidying up everything else, we're deeming it incomplete.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor.
Incomplete.
You're out of here.
And then this last one is County Road 103, County Road 39. We had discussed this on several occasions. This is the lot next to Burger King where they want to put a
Now wait,
medical
Teresa,
office.
slow
What
down.
number is that?
Where is it?
Number 13.
13.
13?
Sorry, I'm a fast talker.
We're on high speed.
So as a reminder, again, this is the lot next to Burger King. They want to put a 14,000 square foot medical office at the site. We had some concerns with respect to the traffic, and they had submitted a traffic study, and you had requested that we put out a request for proposals for a traffic engineer to analyze the traffic study on our behalf. We received 3 quotes back. The one from Nelson Pope and Voorhees was $14,500. The one from McLean Associates was $4,000, and RKF
10.
AKRF was not to exceed 10. So
Right. So it's 4, 10, and
14.
14. Tom, did you have any thoughts on this?
You know,
I mean, if we buy by price, we buy by price.
Right,
But,
I mean,
but
the LKMA is the least expensive, also goes least detail of what exactly they're going to do. But I think it's relatively standard, what they would be looking at. They describe it really briefly. The other two go a lot more into detail about it. One thing I do like about the LKMA proposal is that they don't work for other applicants in the town where they're working for the town.
That's what I like.
And in fact, they actually do have a contract with the town highway department that, you know, is pretty significant. So they do a lot of work, but that's, the town is their client. So they do a lot of work in Southampton, but for the town of Southampton. You know, I suspect we may find, once we see their review, that we would have, you know, a number of other questions, and there may be additional back and forth, and the cost may go up, as we find, you know, they sometimes do. But I, you know,
Tom,
would be comfortable with LKMA.
AKRF, a part of their contract is 3 meetings with us, 1 in person to be combined with a site visit on the same day, and up to 2 virtual meetings. Nelson Pope, I think there's 1 meeting, and I'm not quite sure if
I think LKMA said 2 meetings.
the 2, I mean, those are important, those meetings.
I don't have the initial, original request in front of me. But I
Virtual
think we had-
attendance at 2
2,
board meetings.
right.
Yes, I think our request had said 2 board meetings.
So that's it.
And the, which one had the 3 in it?
LKMA had
The
3, 2 virtual, and Nelson Pope, I think, was just like 1. They didn't even say, did they? Wait a minute.
You say it for the town?
Yeah.
Now he's retired and
Yeah.
Like they all do.
We haven't
Yep,
seen
of course.
these before, so it's kind
I
of
can see
hard.
Hillman's name on it.
I'm sorry?
I said, we haven't seen these before, so it's would be helpful if you could sort of summarize the differences.
Oh,
among
right,
them.
I had emailed them
They
to
were
you last
emailed, I
week,
did.
but
They
I
were,
can go
yeah.
over them.
I did,
I don't have them actually. I'm sorry. I don't
Do you
have
want them here? They're here. We have an extra packet.
we have tons of extra.
Well, I
packets.
think also, you know, Tom's justification makes a lot of sense, right? If,
McLean,
Elkin
McLean,
is
you
already
favoring
working for
McLean?
the town and kind of has a big picture scope. They also did the, I think the Riverhead traffic study, you know, they're thinking about things on a community level, working with communities versus clients, and the price is right.
Right, and I mean, all 3 we know are very good.
Of course,
We've
yeah.
seen presentations from them on, you know, various things.
And you have worked with AKRF before. They're doing the traffic study for 9/11 Flanders.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they are
That's-
particularly good.
Right, he's very good.
Yeah,
Yeah, Matthew was very good.
it's $6,000 more.
And
Then
what do we,
McLean.
aside from the company, what's the difference? That seems like a fairly large.
It's their rate. It's probably what their rate is per person.
I just remind, we're just reviewing another traffic study.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the point of it. So it's not like we need a full traffic study.
Right.
Right.
One is half the price of the other, the cheapest of the, less than half the price
True.
of the other 2.
Right.
So I would just
Okay,
say-
so,
And I was
we-
just asking why.
And it's McLean. That's the one we like.
And we may end up, as I said, we may end up with more questions. They may come back and say, oh, that's gonna be another, you know, 10 hours of work or something like that. But,
Right.
but I
But
think
for
to start-
starters, we'll go
right.
with them? Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I defer to Tom.
Okay,
Save some money.
so we're gonna pick McLean.
Okay, McLean.
So do we need a resolution?
I
yet?
have a resolution, it's there in your packet. I just left the blanks open for which ones you want to hire and for what rate. And then I can just fill those in based on that information. But there is a resolution, so we can just put,
So we're retaining LK McLean Associates.
okay.
Move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, and all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.
And you're gonna give us a paper document, Teresa?
Huh?
You're gonna get a paper document about the incomplete? We took
For-
a
on
vote for the
Reggio.
incomplete for
Oh,
Reggio.
yes, yes. And I'll send it around before
Okay.
you mail it out.
Okay,
I'll send it out tomorrow, okay?
Great, thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Claire, 157 Montauk Highway?
Yeah, so we're at action deadline on the 21st. So we'll review the staff report today, and then
Okay,
I'll adjust it, and we'll do a decision for the next meeting if all goes well. All the referrals came back positively. We had the town engineer sign off with some conditions,
Do you have a report for
and
it?
I have a report. I'm gonna do that right now. There's some site plans.
Okay. Share.
Okay.
I also have a couple
Unrivaled.
renderings of the latest version. So when the ARB reviewed it, they wanted this feature here to be on the front building also. It's on the back building, but they wanted it on the front building. So these elevations, there's two of them there, but if you share them, you can see what the elevations have been changed to reflect.
What feature is that?
So do you see that glass?
It's the,
Yeah, and then you'll see it further, I think on page 6 or 7, you'll see it on the front
To
building.
break up the glass?
To break up the mass of the front of the building and give it a feature. The one aspect as I was reviewing this though, is that it could potentially have like this glowing effect. So
Is it
we would
illuminated?
wanna,
Is it illuminated? No.
Well,
That's an
it's
interior
an
lighting.
interior lighting, so it could be something you're having like this glow effect. So we just wanna make sure that the interior lighting wouldn't be, be something.
We get foods like that all the time.
We do, and
right?
I was just thinking, oh, it's a nice feature. However, it could glow, so
It
we
could
don't
be like
want.
a white band across the
Yeah,
building.
there could be something where or they could just, the architect could just
Yeah.
explain how they're gonna do
Okay,
it, yeah.
we'll ask them.
So that's one of the issues. So I'll just go through the report, any questions, stop me.
Okay.
It's 2 buildings, 8,058 square feet, that's medical, and then the rear building is 5942 square feet. So it's on 1.4 acre parcel. It has an existing diner building, located in the HB zoning district at 57 West Montauk Highway in Hampton Bays. And the improvements are shown on the plans. I just have to finish my ideas there. Is type 1 action, adopted with negative declaration on August 22nd, 2024. Planning board held a public hearing October 10th. The comments heard during the hearing were as follows. Question the number of stories on the buildings, hours of operation and entrances of the buildings, concerned with the appearance of the buildings, and concerned with time frame for the project. Written comments were received during the, I think it was a 30-day time period. I have to double check that. Proposal for the office building is better than current abandoned diner. Support the front to be properly landscaped and maintained. So the town engineer comments, they were attached. They have the site plan review fee, which they paid consequently. Speed permit number 2, SWIP permits number 3, and the pre-construction meeting requirement. The fire marshal described the application, said proposed work should not impede emergency vehicle access to the property, street numbers, and this is the big issue. They had a concern about the fire apparatus to access the rear office building due to the islands. Fire apparatus will be approaching from the east, making navigation around the islands near the stop sign and dumpster in the parking lot difficult. The code requires dead-end fire apparatus access roads in excess of 150 feet to be provided with an approved area for turning around fire apparatus. There is no area for fire apparatus to turn around, forcing fire apparatus back out through the parking lot to Montauk Highway. Drainage to be relocated out of the roadways are capable of supporting hazardous apparatus. Dumpsters shall be enclosed, key boxes, and the area is served by public water, and then additional requirements.
So what did they say, that the trucks are coming in on the east, on the west? That's the entrance.
Yes, no, from the east, because the west, you can only, go in, right?
In,
You can't take a
right.
left in.
But all this is open. So
No, you see, what they're meaning is that you're gonna take a left into there from the light, right? And if you.
Yes, here.
And then you wouldn't be able, no, not that way.
From this way.
This way, they're gonna take a left at the light, right
Okay,
there,
Yeah.
okay.
Dennis, what you're saying.
Yeah.
And then you cannot maneuver that fire truck around that island.
Oh, around here.
Yeah, to
Around
get
here.
out. So,
Oh, so they can't turn around down here and come back
they're
out?
already aware of it. So I sent it to them when I came in October. So they're already aware of it. They can do multiple curbs. They can change the island. They got 2 parking spaces over what they need. There's definitely ways to do
So
this.
this could be mountable, right?
They
come
could
right-
be mountable. They could lose a couple spaces and pull it up. There definitely is ways for them to do that
Yeah.
to make it. So there, what one is a fire truck turning radius plan that you're going to approve
Yeah.
along with the project.
Okay.
And they're already in talking to fire marshal to see how that can be achieved.
Right.
It's what that radius will have to be for a truck. So.
Okay.
But it's an important issue.
Yeah.
And things you don't think about until you have the people who do this every day look at it. So, but all the other conditions are things we can do. So.
Other trucks have to turn around too.
Yeah.
So David, do you need to speak to this at all?
I'd say 2 things, because Dennis always asks me, but David Gilmore and Greenberg Trog, 2317 Montauk Highway, Bridgehampton. There is an application to demolish the building in. We're having some challenges with it, so I may take up Mr. Finnerty on his volunteering to go in and help us through that process. And then we look forward to an approval and getting this project done.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so the comments from the Department of Economic Development and Planning from the county had 4 comments related. Said it was a matter of local determination, first of all, but had 4 comments related to stormwater, natural vegetation, and green methodologies. Excuse me. New construction, commercial, and industrial buildings should be designed and constructed to reduce energy consumption and improve environmental quality. Whenever possible, industrial buildings shall include use of renewable energy through the utilization of solar or minimum to be built solar ready. And then the designation of 8% of the parking spaces for clean energy vehicles. So in our case, we do 5%. So do we want to increase it to 8?
Well, if the county is pushing that.
I'm liking the county's letter.
Yeah, the letter is great. Didn't we have a discussion with the applicant about all of these sustainable issues? We did.
We talked about it at the pre-submission stage. There may have been some agreement on any solar, but we could condition it on solar ready if they're not prepared to do solar now.
Solar and the electric charging.
Where are the electric vehicles?
Yeah, we need to show that. Do you want to do 8% as opposed to 5?
If that's what the county is pushing for, yeah.
Well, they're talking parking spaces. We're talking charging stations. They're 2 different things.
Yeah, they're saying.
Well, saying 8% for clean energy vehicles.
I mean, that's like the 2 parking
The
spaces in
spaces
front of
in
this
front.
building
Right.
that don't have, but there are charging
There were
stations further
89
back.
and 87 required.
87 required, so out of 87, roughly 8 would be.
8 would be for electric vehicles.
They're asking to come closer to 8.
But they're also saying to increase the number of parking spaces. I just don't see why you would have to. We assume that electric vehicles are coming anyways.
Yes.
It's not a double dip there.
No, you'd have to extract 8 for electric vehicles, and then the rest would be for just regular cars. But we wouldn't increase the overall.
No, it's just saying designate.
Yeah.
They're not, I don't.
It says increasing the number of parking spaces.
Oh, okay. I didn't read the second part.
Doesn't-
Hey,
yeah.
I think they're
It's like the word.
meaning
It's like the
think
word
it
not.
means,
word.
like referring to the earlier part of the sentence, they're saying designate a minimum of 8%
Does
of
that
parking
mean you add
spaces for clean
8%?
energy vehicles, increasing the number of parking spaces beyond the
Right.
minimum required, like
Yeah, that's-
designated parking spaces.
But
Yeah,
we don't
but-
want to increase
No.
parking, okay?
Right.
Yeah, we're
But
not
we do
increasing
want to
parking.
designate
There
certain
needs to
spaces to be electric,
Yeah.
for electric cars.
I wonder if this is based upon a study they've done, and they have like some kind of paper we could take a peek at.
You know,
What's our town standard? I mean,
We're doing 5%, but
5%.
that was just we just pulled some
feet.
Yeah.
5% up to what, 50
Sure, that
parking
would
space? I mean, is it graduated? Like if you have 50 parking spaces, we need 5%. If it's 60 parking spaces, 8%?
20 parking spaces would require 1, 40 is 2.
So we have a scale.
So
This
just
is what
one
we've been
per
doing.
year.
Yeah,
I think there should be a minimum of 2 regardless.
minimum of 2.
Yeah, electric charging station regardless, and then,
But I
Oh,
like the
that's the
idea,
charging
though,
stations, but
Yeah.
they're talking about parking
Claire
spaces for
of
electric
reaching out
cars.
to them
Well,
and saying,
that's
oh,
charging-
how are you determining
station.
8%? Because if there
No,
is a
no,
study,
it's
we
like
might
what you have in
consider
front.
modifying that policy
Special
for the
parking
town and bumping
spaces
that up
for
Yeah.
electric
for all
vehicles.
projects.
They
Sure.
should
Yeah.
clarify number 4. Are they talking about an 8% increase in parking or just a higher ratio?
It is a
Designated
recommendation.
8%.
It's a recommendation, so that you do not have to do that. I think we find that this parking can be excessive.
And
No.
this is an inference of like preferred parking, if you will? Is that what?
Yes,
that's
it's
what
like
That's why they
the
need to
parking space in
clarify
the
this.
front for electric cars.
well,
It's- they
th-
get
these are just
preference.
recommendations. We should
What exactly
implement,
are they recommending?
it's meaningless, we should implement what's
Well, let's
work
do what
for
we
us.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
Do the 5%, but
Yeah.
but I can definitely get their information. They've got a study.
Yeah.
So
That
it's
we
not
can-
like, it's not actually, it's just preferred parking,
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
all
the
it is.
charging station.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's
So
two
I-
separate
yeah,
things,
That was my
two
point.
separate
Yeah.
things in the
Right.
same
We've
sentence.
never implemented
Yeah.
preferred parking.
I think they're trying to.
Do you want to
encourage
ask the applicant now if they're doing anything further besides?
it. Yeah, are you doing anything on the sustainable front?
I think it was the architect that said that they would do all they could to
We
to
just
make
don't
it
know
as
what that
green as
is.
possible. I don't either,
Okay,
frankly.
you'll ask him.
You
I'll
asked
ask.
about the solar? Yeah, I don't know
Solar.
why I was thinking there would be solar.
They
Oh,
did talk about solar.
Hold on a second.
There is good southern exposure there.
I think that was a condition of your deck.
Oh, that's right.
That it be
Yes.
solar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rear building has a major southern facing.
Submit revised
remember
plans
the-
showing
Showing
solar, that's all.
solar?
Yeah, I
That's
actually do think
condition.
so. So I'm going to put that in here.
Yeah, condition, submit
Right.
revised plans showing location of solar, rooftop solar panels,
And location of the
electric charging.
electric charging station.
Yeah. Just a condition.
Excellent.
Okay, good.
So those are the comments. We'll go on to the standards. A is that they have the 2 curb cuts. One is for ingress. And then they are subject to DPW and DOT approval because it is the intersection. I go through the parking requirements and then I note that the town fire marshal about the turning radius. I'm going to say that they shall provide a turning radius plan for approval. And then with regard to the landscaping, so there was a stand of trees existing along the east. Your original pre-submission report asked them to retain that. They're not proposing to retain any of that. They're clearing the site. They're proposing some junipers along the buffer on the east side. That's where the buildings are going on the sites, and so if you want to have them take any comments related to that. On your site plan, I also recommend the boxwoods. I'm just recommending 4-foot tall boxwoods to screen the parking.
Mm-hmm.
It's 50-foot back, so there should be no sight distance issues along the west, east, the middle, and the east parking lots because it is lined up with the building, which is good,
Mhm.
but it's visible from the
Right, I remember that.
Yeah, but
Now-
there are a lot of nice trees in the front, so it should be good.
Should keep those. And juniper, I mean juniper bushes, juniper what? I mean juniper is like
It's
straggling?
red cedar. They're proposing red cedars along the east side. They have a nice mix of about half to native and half or more
ornamental.
Yeah, but the trees, the junipers on the side of the red cedars are all natives, so that's good. They should do well. And then also the street trees that have been incorporated along Montauk Highway, so we do have them. They're kind of pulled in, but as you say, they're an intersection, so it should be pretty decent on that one. So with regard to the master plan, I just did note that they are complying with the 15,000 square feet total of the building. Total, the 2 buildings will be 14,000 square feet. So we do comply with that. That's D. E is, again, the natural features related to the existing vegetation on the east side. There's not cultural features, pavement, town engineer has approved.
Well, the cultural features are really, they're the entrance to Hampton Bays.
Yeah. You want us to mention that
I
with
think
the
so,
cultural features?
yeah.
And I think we talked about putting in maybe a welcome to Hampton Bay sign. And
Well, we talked about a community node at the top, at the northeast corner, but it may be more appropriate to have something like that on the town
On the town
property.
parcel, right next to it.
But I'm wondering if this applicant can grant some sort of, easement or it's for a small section if they want to extend a little plaza. I'm thinking,
A little kiosk.
American Legion or uniformed first responders might want to have a small plaque or wall or, welcome. I don't know. I would leave it up to them.
There is a sign there now
There's a
that says
sign there.
welcome
So
to.
look at your site plan on the northeast corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sign is actually on the town property, so
Right.
that says welcome to Hampton Bays.
Right.
The, there's a small retaining wall that's circular, half circle, and that is encroaching into the site. So in order to maintain that, I think we should probably designate an area
Yeah.
where, they can continue to plant it, but it should be low planting, so you're not interfering. No, I'm sorry, they being the civics.
Well, it'll be formal,
Right.
formal easement, and that's more legal issue.
I think you need
Dave,
an
if you-
easement, yeah.
If you can, are you aware that what we're looking at?
Yes.
That, yeah. I think what we're looking for, Dave, is some sort of, I don't know,
Embellishment
if
of
we
that,
need a
right?
full formal easement or some ability for the town to go in there, create a welcome node, a kiosk of some sort. Part of it would be on your property.
And we could do a license, I think that would
A licensing,
allow
right?
access, but
We have to talk to the town board and see if they
Yeah.
want to do that.
But it's in the way that it's currently set up. There's not going to be an expansion of the sign's currently on the town property, and you have
Right.
a full
But
lot
that wall
there
is there.
to
If
work.
you could
yeah,
formalize it, I think we're looking to have it formalized in some
as it
capacity.
currently exists.
Maybe just create a square, regular, right now it's a little convoluted. If your surveyor could create a square node and formalize it and then execute whatever legal documents we need. Yeah, just to square it off.
So something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe do
Small.
that as a recommendation and not as a condition, because.
Now, something that would have to be
go
accepted,
the
right?
Yeah, we'd have to go to the town board for that, so I
Well,
would,
they could offer it, right?
they can offer a donation, but so they would be offering it to, their portion to us?
No, just, an improvement, I don't know what you would call it. No? Can't do it.
It's an off-site
It's an offsite.
improvement.
No, this is just for their property.
Okay.
In other words,
The
they're
little round
offering us-
portion is on this property.
In case the town board wanted to create some sort of plaza on the town's
It still
land,
has to go to-
and maybe extend the plaza into their.
You can make if you wanna make it a condition, you can make it a condition that they donate it, but don't make it on the acceptance. If you're gonna make an acceptance, then
So
just make it a
offer
recommendation,
dedication, okay, that's,
if that's
is that
amenable to
okay?
you.
It would just be like an offer, like a quarter radius.
Are you okay with it?
So let's put that under
So
cultural
if you
code.
want to make it a condition on an offer of dedication.
Dave, could we do an offer of dedication?
Let me confirm that. I don't
Yeah.
think there was an issue as we've gone through this process. The board's raised it before, and my client did not object to it, but I don't want to represent that. Now it's becoming very formal.
Well,
right? So I wanna-
it's cleaner though, if you.
I understand, and
rather
I
than
agree
grant
that
an
it's
easement.
cleaner. I just have to make sure that
Like a
he's-
corner radius
Is
type
that
thing.
an area that would be in the way if in fact that roundabout was ever done? Is that part of the area that they were putting aside
And
for
it's
the
pretty far
roundabout?
east.
It's
I
far-
think-
All right, I just
Yeah,
want to make
that
sure
would-
because
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
still,
It's on the table.
And I,
it's on, back on the table.
I remember one of the earlier meetings, we talked about working with Hampton Bays beautification, because I
Right.
think they were the ones that were responsible for the
Right,
placement.
and my
of that
client's been
sign.
in touch with them at this board's direction. I just don't know the outcome of that conversation. And I'll confirm with him either today or tomorrow, and then
Great.
I'll
So
get in
you'll
touch with Claire.
formalize it or clear it up, because part of it's on your
Yeah.
property and
It
part of it
offers
is on
the
the
easiest
town
way,
property.
and it's the cleanest way. It's like a corner radius.
I mean, one of the things that occurs to me is the town owns the entire lot next door, and we may not need to complicate it by doing this if it was shifted back,
Yeah, then
right?
maybe they'll shift it.
Yeah,
Might
the
be
town
easier.
could move it back and do plantings around it on the land.
Right. And
Because
you're-
if you have construction trucks coming in here too, and they damage
Yeah,
the half round that's planted,
It's pretty far away.
It's pretty far
Yeah, it's
away,
pretty
yeah.
far away.
I don't see that as
Not gonna be.
being an issue for us. I mean, I think the access will be much further west, but.
So
Who
we're gonna wait
maintains
and have
it?
this on the
The town
21st for
Town
adoption?
beautification.
Civic.
Check that.
maintains it.
I'll check
Activate
it,
beautification.
and then come back
On the
with.
21st.
and-
The
and-
deadline's on the
Yeah,
21st.
Yeah.
this is all the
We'll have an
the
answer soon.
land, the islands.
Yes,
Yeah.
So right now it stands as an offer of dedication.
Okay.
We'll talk about that, and then if the worst comes to worst, it could be a buffer to make sure it's only maintained for a person.
Yeah.
It
Well,
could be
yeah.
something like that, but I don't know. We'll try that.
Okay.
We're on to lighting. It's 2,700.
Yep.
Okay,
This is
now,
fourth.
the lighting poles are 18 feet tall, and I do know the reason, you're trying to do minimum poles. That will probably cause, if you do go to 10, more lighting poles, but they
It's
just
okay.
have to reflect it.
So we'll go with 8.
Go
Um,
with 10.
10.
10.
yeah, 18 to 10 feet tall. And just note on the lighting plan, they reference Brookhaven Town Code. And I do note that the open glass, so we maybe have some language related to the lighting inside the building to make sure it doesn't become this beacon. Whether it's got a screen on it or something to that effect. And then the ARB has modified the design for that front building, so that was approved. Drainage, of course, has been addressed. The IA system is proposed. Public address system prohibited. The 7 handicap spaces is compliance. The number 1 is not applicable. The energy conservation. This is the solar, so I'll add that language in the 5 charging stations. And then cross access. So with this, in the Hampton-based corridor study, they clearly show the
That's the
connection.
old one.
Yeah,
along.
that's for the old design.
Sign is, yeah.
So I do have that plan. I'm gonna do a specific plan for this property though, and I'll show how it would connect, because we have a plan. We still have a plan, whether people wanna implement it or not, to have the cross access for the Good Ground Road extension.
Yeah.
So we'll
And
still
all the way down.
It'll be a future cross access. And then, so that's the report, and then we'll await the updated plans and do a decision if all goes well for next week. Okay.
Where's the cross access? Again?
Where is the process?
So there is a plan, so the cross access for the Hampton-based corridor study shows the cross access to be along this eastern portion of the property and extending down. Obviously, this is the, to the south is the state's recharge area. We do not have cross access to the west yet, and then the town CPF parcel is to the east. So there's some impediments to constructing this. But we, the next one, which was the Friendlies, does have it. So and the property to the south of that one is general property, not CPF. So that can have cross access. So, but there are some impediments at this point to doing the connection.
So would we want the cross access to line up so they can exit into the, is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, I'm gonna show it, generally speaking, that it goes east to west along the rear. of
Along the
property.
rear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll be it, but it'll be just a plan, it'll be a general future cross access.
Okay, future cross access.
If things happen in this area, so.
What we can do.
Great, so that's.
Okay, so no action. We've
No
reviewed
action.
the plan and we'll adopt it next week.
Yep.
Thank you. So the Eastport Mobile Home Park,
Yeah, again, the action deadline's not until next speak, but I wanted to review this with you. There's a lot of public comments on this one.
Yes. This is the Farrell, correct?
This is the Farrell, correct.
And do we have any secret availability?
I believe so. I think that this is a type 1 action. This is my,
Yeah.
I looked at this pretty closely. Until I get additional information that proves differently, I would say there's a couple things that say that this is a secret. One is that the health department is coming back and saying that they do not recognize all these units as being approved. Before 93 units can come up to speed here, they would have to reapprove them on some level. They think that they're abandoned, some of these units.
Did they come up with a number of what they are acknowledging, or?
I think it's less than half on the property. So that's what I've seen so far. There is so much information on this. We're looking at property requirements from the 60s, right? So we're looking at old maps here.
So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah, we'll start
Okay.
from the beginning.
Yeah.
But there's two, and the second reason would be that they have cleared the entire property,
Yes.
which is 10 acres plus. And that would be a trigger for type 1 by itself.
Yeah.
So those are the two reasons that I'm thinking it's a type 1 action. But,
Okay, well,
again, this is a pre-submission.
Let's review it.
We can review it.
Who's the applicant? Is David?
Yeah, David.
David, you're, okay.
Yeah. So there's two properties on the face of it that have the,
Do we have anything to look at?
oh, the guarantee.
Some paper?
There's some
Besides
paper.
you.
I've got paper.
We love paper.
No problem. I've got paper. Here's 3 sets of accounts. As I said, this is a draft, so we'll look at this and we'll adopt it for next week. I'm sure you'll have some questions.
We should require that these plans also be submitted to us in manageable form.
I
medium
know.
size.
That would be great. Yeah,
They
exactly.
can do it. They've got the machinery.
So,
Do we
on the,
have, I haven't seen a report of any kind.
somebody passing down the report?
Said in that way.
What's the double sheet, Tom?
Just tell us
Oh,
what
that's
sheets
like
we
the
have to.
Energizer bunny.
I would
Going,
do
going.
the site plan if they,
we don't.
hopefully this is the second sheet for you.
4 of 11, 5 of 11.
I know, that's the thing.
What should we be looking at?
What sheet, Claire?
This is in my hand.
There's probably gonna be multiple, because it's just so long.
Yeah,
What sheet is that?
Well, it goes on multiple
Oh, I
sheets.
have,
There's 93 units or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't, I have all of the,
Well,
I have all of the drainage and stuff here. I don't have a site plan.
This
I'll
is
give you-
probably best. You can
I'll-
give that back to
I'll
me.
give you this, if you give me that.
Yes, I will. This looks most accurate. These are the 3 sheets.
Okay, good. Same as yours.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, the East Port Mobile Home Park, or also called JGF Surf Shack, involves 2 parcels on the face of it. The main parcel here, and I'm gonna put the other address in there. Which is a smaller parcel that holds 10 units. So the main parcel is 251 Old Country Road. It was approved originally for 83 units, and then this parcel to the east is 253 Old Country Road in Eastport, and that holds about 10 units.
10?
Yeah, according to the building department. So, also, I just note further on in the report is that a lot of these units, and whether they're old or new, it looks like new units, are being staged on this other parcel that is controlled by the owner, but it was never part of the original mobile home park. So that is being like a stage area. And then in the back, there's this parcel that is landlocked. It's about 2 acres, and that doesn't have anything on it, but obviously in the last couple of years has been cleared out. It's got all the natural vegetation removed, and it's got some standing water, just looking at the aerials.
Who owns that, Claire?
That is owned also by the applicant.
By the applicant?
Yeah, at this point, but not part of the original approval that I see with the ZBA. So 93 units. The site plan application is being approved for upgrading of the existing manufactured home community. 93 units, including lighting, landscaping, roadways, and drainage on 2 parcels. 13.4 acres and 1.2. It's in the R20 zoning districts, and I have noted the address. So the pre-submission conference was held on October 10th. The following comments were received. Map is incorrectly referencing parking and cesspools. Water pressure, an issue for residents. Map does not reflect the decks on the units. Roadways are not correctly shown on the map. Has secret been completed? Refer application to the town board to ensure the project meets New York State green amendments. Concerns with density, concern with wastewater for the development should require a treatment plant. Project is a type 1 action. New manufactured homes are larger, not low income housing. The site previously had sheds, but since removed. Comments were received during the 30-day written comment period as followed. Impact on the community, negative impact on traffic, schools, and the community. Impact on project on taxes, trees have been removed. Units are lined up against the road, look like an army barracks. Sheds and decks do not require a permit. Sand pile on site will cause flooding. Homes have decks and no shed. Due to the lack of trees as a windshield, the units have been damaged. Concerned with access for fire emergencies. New homes are adjacent to the access roads. Road signs have been removed. Names of the roads have been changed. Remaining owners are senior citizens on fixed income. Suggest the park be 55 and older. Conduct a full secret review, including the impact on the environment, surface and groundwater, traffic, and schools. The project, along with the Northwell project, at 1.5 persons per acre, will increase the Eastport population by 26%. At 2 persons per acre, the Eastport population will increase by 34%. Where are the fire hydrants being installed? Do not need a gate. Need the street signs and one-way signs reinstalled. Concerned with the location of the unit parking spaces. So the items to be submitted would be a full site plan application, site plan engineering, sanitary, landscape buffer reestablishment, and lighting information. Stormwater pollution prevention plan to the town engineer. So I start to go into the history. I don't know if I've covered everything, so please, if you want to add anything. The history starts with the records that the town of Southampton Building Division has, and the property is approved for 93 units on the 2 parcels. As I said before, the 83 units on the main parcel and 10 units on the smaller parcel. Is it the applicant's intention to increase the units above the 93 would be a question I would have. Related to sanitary, the health department has notified the town that they do not recognize all of the 93 units, as certain units have been abandoned over the years. Full health department review is being required for the units on the sites. As of June 18th, no health department application has been submitted. So the designation is a type 1 action. Secret needs to be completed prior to deeming the site plan complete. And then I go on to say about the 2 other parcels I described to you prior. The 2.9 acre property known as they're actually both known as 257 Old Country Road. I'm not quite sure why, but this one, which is the 2.9 acre, and it's got the manufactured homes on it, and then the one landlocked below here, but they have 2 different tax map numbers. And then that site in the rear is been entirely cleared, and it looks like there's some standing water on the property. So with the original ZBA application, 20-foot buffers were established along the east property line and the south property line. As you can see, even on the aerial photo, there are units now located in those buffers, and they should be reestablished.
When was the ZBA decision, Claire?
In the 1960s, I don't have an exact date.
But long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will get some dates on that and then put them in here. So you want to reestablish those buffers at the minimum, obviously, in this case. And then lighting, we would want information on lighting. We'll make sure the property is safe. Drainage, the SWIP with the town engineer. We would have to have those plans that they did submit drainage plans, but we don't have a referral process with pre-submission, so that will be done during the site plan process. Now, with sustainability, obviously we're talking about manufactured homes here. So, but there might be something to be done, some vehicle charging stations, grass pavers, impervious surfaces, green stormwater management. So I'm not quite sure what you want to do in terms of recommendation for some charging stations on the property. But I probably should do some minimum here again. So.
Well, this is, I would think the cars are pulling next to the vehicles put next to the unit so they could actually
Plug into the
put
house.
Plug into their
plug into the
house.
house,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And
So you won't have to do it.
Yeah,
and,
I don't know if we
and
need,
would they be using heat pumps for heating and cooling,
probably.
which would be,
That's the state of the art now, is the heat
Yeah.
pumps.
There you go. And what about rain gardens and other kinds of
that would be the drainage.
drainage?
issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was
I mean,
this
the biggest-
always a location for manufactured homes, or was it a farm before?
It's probably a farm.
As I said, it was like these decisions were in the 60s. That's all I know.
I mean, we don't. There's no need, or would there be a need for environmental review
For
in the soils?
Oh, there's no basements.
There's no basements, they're all on slabs.
On slabs.
This is the 30s. This one you see here. So there was some farmland definitely in the middle of the property, and then 1962. By 1962, where a significant amount of the units were installed.
I mean, the big question is the density.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the community
Tell us what you know,
can't
Dave.
support
The,
that.
the density is 93 units. It's been acknowledged by the building department. We have COs. The health department, I think, made a faulty interpretation about a 2018 law. And the exception to that 2018 law is if you have a health department approval prior to 2018. This was approved, I think, I actually have the health department approval. I believe it was in 1959. So we've presented that to the health department. We have our application in. Yes, 12/16/1959. So that law is not going to apply. The
Are
density.
you proposing sewage treatment, or is it going to be individual?
No, not individual. IA systems which can either handle 2 or 3 units
Okay.
temporarily. There could be a future plan for a treatment plant, but I think we're pretty far off from that. So we'll do the individual IA systems.
Are you showing on the plan, showing the future where it would be located, or?
With the STP?
Yeah.
It's off-site. It's not
It's
on the
off-site.
site.
And is there enough room to put in IA systems for all these?
I believe so. That's the plan.
Well,
There's
they have to get it
existing
approved
systems
by the
there now.
health
Yeah.
There are existing systems there now.
Yeah.
What they look like is a question.
Yeah, they're probably, yeah.
It's probably an overstatement to say system.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, all right. That's called a hole in the ground.
Cesspool is probably the technical term for it.
So, David, when you say the building department is saying that 93 units is the allowable density,
They're not saying that they issued COs.
the Southampton Town Building
Mhm.
Department.
All the correspondence we're getting is along the lines of we're creating this density.
You're not creating it,
Yeah.
it's
If
creating.
anything, you're taking dilapidated structures and rehabilitating.
Right, that's correct.
So if there's 93 COs, that means there are 93 existing units in place. Or you get a CO for a unit that isn't there.
Well, you have the ability to have 93 units, as Claire said, 83 on one lot, 10 on the other. What's on the current lots, I couldn't tell you, but there aren't 93 units sitting
Right, that's what
on those.
Well, that's the
confuses
question.
me.
That's why.
But you have the permit for 93.
Yeah, we have a permit and the ability and the.
To move units on and off sites.
Right. Remember, these are concrete pads is what the town has arguably jurisdiction over. Right, so it's just the pads that, the homes are reviewed and overseen by HUD.
Now, how is the road system set up? They're not town roads. Are they going to be? Is it a homeowners association or the internal road system?
I'll find out. I don't know how they. Yeah, I haven't gotten into that level of detail with them yet, but I assume there's going to be some sort of association that owns it.
Like a community association, community owned.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but there's little 10 by 15 squares, rectangles beside each unit. Do you know what that represents? Is that a
Parking
deck
Looks like a
or
deck.
something?
Looks
or-
like a deck and
Like the
the
back
decks.
Maybe
That
what
looks
that
like
is.
these look like decks. These 10 by 15.
And
These
those are
look
the
like rear
steps in the
decks.
front, I guess.
Yeah, stoop, stairs. Like
Right.
that looks like a porch. This looks like a stairs going up to the porch. You know, back deck.
So Claire,
And
you
we're getting
have an issue
correspondence.
with the C of Os for that many
Existing ones
units?
don't show it.
Because they're
Yeah.
contradictory to what the county is saying? Is that, I'm just trying, yes.
I don't think the county's come out with any sort of formal statement. I mean, there's a lot of information and a ton of people calling the county, but and this is all, hearsay or anecdotal information. We have an application in, and let's see that application through the process before this board makes any determination about what's going on and what's permitted.
But I think there's
As
a
far
question.
as far as this, as far as this board's concerned, you have 2 COs issued by the building inspector for 93 units, and you're bound by that.
Yeah.
And they were issued when, in 1969? In
No,
59?
No, they were issued recently.
They were issued
See those,
recently.
these
Yeah,
homes
March,
move off,
maybe.
move on.
If I remember correctly, I
They'll
have.
take a home away and then they'll-
So
They're gonna say the
Farrell
same
went
thing.
in and got C of Os, updated C of Os on these,
I'm pretty
Minutes?
sure Joe didn't do it, but
well, his company.
yes. Yeah, March 8th, 2024.
Hmm.
So the COs.
To the
for
town
slabs.
building department.
That's how they handle it.
And when you have in your report, Claire, Suffolk County Health Department has notified the town they do not recognize all of the above 93 units. Is that in writing or
There's an
conversations?
email. I tried to find it. Today I gotta go back and dig it up.
So really, we're in pre-submission, we're communicating that these issues would come up and that we would likely want to pursue a type 1 action and do a full secret review. And so those things would be addressed at that time of the application. Right?
Yep. Okay.
So it has public water, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. have
Please,
to.
please tell me. Is there a proposal to do the fire hydrants, or we haven't
Yes.
gotten that far with the
Yes,
fire marshal?
there is a proposal. I think Mr. DeSessa said that at our pre-submission public hearing.
So the water is Suffolk County water?
I don't know who.
That's in the street, yeah, it's in the street, it's Suffolk County one, yeah. I put the blue on. The other thing I had is that one of the comments from the, number 10, one of the comments from the public, in the public comment period with the street signs were missing. So I'm going out to the site to make sure, but if they are, they need to go up right away.
I would
because otherwise people,
fire department.
Yeah, exactly. So, I'll go to the site in the meantime. Any other questions? Do you want me to start to look at? I mean, I'll address this up. We have some questions that needed to be put in here, so. And I'll get you this, early next week.
So the email with the Suffolk County Health Department
Yep.
says certain units have been abandoned over the years, right? So then, what's the jurisdiction there? You have the CO, but it's not pre-existing because it's not actively being used, right?
So
Those are
that,
separate-
I mean,
separate
that
from
was my
separate
understanding from this email, which I will secure and I will get to you so you have it.
So I guess when you're on site, it would be interesting to just examine whether the units appear to be active.
Okay.
Well, they have you have an application at the health department, correct?
Yes, yeah, it's in, and that,
So
that
they'll
issue
either-
will be decided by the health.
You'll either get an approved permit, or you won't, then we'll know.
And that's what would impact us. And this board is bound by the COs. We have a
Well,
right
that's
to those.
I mean, the bottom line to me is we have contradictory approvals here. That this building department gave CFOs for 93 units.
But are they getting building permits for the concrete slab? Or are they giving building permits for
They're giving
a
COs
manufactured
for-
house?
They're giving COs for allowable structures that were there.
Right, and when we coordinate secret, we're gonna coordinate with HUD, who's gonna coordinate with Suffolk County.
Yeah.
Right, on
Yeah.
the actual structure.
Yeah.
Right?
But the question is density. What does the master plan have to say? Claire, is there any reference in this?
I don't think that matters, right? We have COs, we had the approvals
Well,
that
we have a
started.
master plan for a reason, don't you think?
I do, except that your first master plan was in 1970 after these were created. So I don't think it applies to this, that were created before your master plan, I think many of them before zoning.
Well, there is some pre-existing non-conforming regulations in the town. You know, if you're saying they're pre-existing and they're not subject to any expansion, that's not so, you know.
Well, we're not expanding, so.
Well, that's what we have to find out here, because
You,
it's
you have,
saying,
and you have from the building department. To the extent that the town has any issue, the building department has answered that.
were there CFOs prior to 2024? When Farrell went in and got these
I
CFOs?
believe there were. I'd have to go
Do you have a
through.
record of those?
Oh,
Yeah,
Claire
I
has
think
her
we all
reports
did.
is from the sixties.
No, the approvals from the ZBA were from the sixties. I don't know
Okay,
anything
so
about
they
any
do have
COs.
approval for
So
the ZBA.
They have approvals from the ZBA.
Do we have a copy of that, Claire? Does the paper exist?
It should be in the building department.
So can we check with the building department, because that seems to be
It seems like we need
Emergency.
I will
to do
give
some
you
some
everything
Detective
I
work.
We need some
have.
forensic work here.
I will give you everything I have.
Okay.
It's
It's murky.
not a piece of paper that says approval from the zoning board of appeals.
Well, I'm looking at it and it does.
Okay.
But that's a
That's
20,
us. That's
that's a
pretty helpful.
2024 building
No,
department.
No, I'm looking at the two ZBA decisions. One's from 1960 and the other's from 1964.
Oh, he has copies.
Great. You can have that.
Can
Yeah,
you
can we
give
get
us
copies of
copies of that?
Yeah, sure. You
They're in
have
the
them.
building
They're in your
department file.
possession, yeah.
I think they're in the building department now.
Maybe you can give them to Claire, she could add it to her file.
Sure. But the ZBA, it says that they were approved, variance to expand existing trailer park.
What's the dates on that?
March 18th, 1960, and September 1st, 1964.
Do they give numbers, David?
Yeah. The first one in 1960 was number 424.
No, I mean the number of units.
Yeah. I'll get it to you. I believe, you have to piece it together with these old
That's what we're
documents.
trying to do, David.
Right, yeah, well,
Yeah.
the
I
There-
think what he's saying, the presumption is that the building inspector issued 93 valid COs, and we kind of have to accept that. You can ask Claire to just, reaffirm all that, but I think that's the position the town
Yeah,
has
they
taken,
haven't
and
heard-
therefore.
Yeah, there were
Yeah,
pre-existing units, and I don't know the number of that, and then additional units were added through these two ZBA applications. And that
We have to
added
look
up
at
to
those
the 90.
You can ask
The
Claire
thing
to
is,
confirm.
it's contradictory because on one hand, we have to determine, because this is coordinated with HUD, right? On one thing, the applicant says that the town doesn't have jurisdiction over this,
Mm-hmm.
but with regard to the COs, they do,
They
right?
do, yeah.
The CO in this case is not like a CO for a residence, it's the CO for the ability to then work with HUD on the residence. And so I think when we
Oh,
go through
interesting.
SECRA, we have to coordinate what does that approval actually mean?
Mhm.
And we are bound by SECRA for the site plan review, which needs to be coordinated, right? So
Yeah,
I think all of
coordination.
these things will emerge through
Yeah.
proper
The only
Secret
involved
review.
agency is the health department, I think, right? Health
Well,
department coordinating.
is HUD federal?
It's federal.
Yeah.
It's federal, so there's a federal agency involved.
I don't know how that works. It's not a
And,
normal.
and how is HUD involved? Other than they oversee the manufactured homes that are installed, what's
What's the
their
approval?
interest over the site plan? Which is, again, is pretty limited in scope here.
Do they need any approvals from HUD?
HUD has to approve the units,
So then that's.
the homes themselves.
that's
Right,
the-
but if
So-
we
So
bring
that-
up questions
But
within
what
the site
what
plan
part of the
approval
site plan is HUD
process and
going to
review.
comment on? What are they gonna
The
talk
actual
about, the
structures?
gates, or the
Struct-
landscaping, or any of those? I mean, the things that you actually have authority over has nothing to do with HUD.
But they
No, but
have,
this action as a, I mean,
Action,
the action as a whole
coordinated
is,
action,
is,
yeah.
they have an approval process, they play a role in this, so and for purposes of SECRA, I think that they are an involved agency. Having said that.
You know, they're operating like the
I
building department.
get it.
right? I mean, it's,
So I think what, getting back to our town and our COs is there were 93 COs issued. Did each one of those represent a slab on, on
No,
which
there's
the
Sure.
unit
two,
was
there's
placed?
two
what I said.
COs issued, there's two COs issued that he has in his hands for basically
93.
coordination with HUD on those two lots for the number of units.
But I thought you said there was 93 authorized in some way.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's 93 units that were CO'd by the building department,
Okay.
or
Now,
93 slabs.
My
I'm saying.
question, right,
Mhm.
are there 93 slabs on the ground? And that's what they went out and counted and said, that's 93 units.
I
Boom.
think it speaks to the amount of trailers they can put on this site. Some of them might have been on the site at that particular time, some of them might have been off-site, some of them might have been moved in subsequent to the C of O. It just speaks to an overall
They
density.
pieced everything together, and at the end, this is what they said.
So I think
How
like,
did they get
And
the
remember,
number
the
93?
trailers
the
are
question.
transitory.
because we don't
The
have.
tenant
that
owns the
license
trailer, and
until
the
1960.
But if
are
you
going to
have-
say.
Theory, if HUD controls the units, then the town controls the site on which the units are placed. So
yeah,
there
I
should
think
be
like having a
93
jurisdictional
slabs.
table, you know,
for these
because you do
93
this
More
with
aerials
food
showing
safety too.
total of 93 density.
And if you look at the site plan, the prior owner and operator has things all over the place, right? It's gonna get cleaned up into where these slabs should be, and then where the,
People are
the
continuing to
homes.
live there, though, is that
yes,
correct?
yes,
How many of them are living there?
I don't know.
Claire, you
There-
have to count
several
93
showed up at the
slabs.
hearing.
Most of the
I'm on it.
correspondence we're getting in is describing all the problems that you're proposing to
Clean
rectify.
up, yeah. My
Wow.
guess is I was there's probably 20 to 25, 30 units that are old trailers that are still there.
Okay, so,
And some of them are owners now, right? They own, is everything last
think-
21 people, there was a number 21 at the work session we had. 21 people own the trailers and they're renting, obviously.
The space,
The
correct.
space. Are there any people just renting trailers currently?
I don't believe so, because they wouldn't be available. I know we have building permits for slabs and units going in. I don't know if any of those are occupied yet.
I want to break that down too, just to
And I
know
think
the
it'd be very
pictures.
helpful if you to do a site visit and bring back what you've seen in case
Take
all
some
of us
pictures,
can't-
Claire.
Can't get there between now and next week.
Yes, of course.
David, does
They won't be pretty.
Does the
Yeah,
health
those
department,
pictures.
does the health department take into account, because I know the idea of this was that some of these homes would become larger. Do they take into account bedroom count when they're looking at whether or not you're grandfathered or not?
I don't know. I'm not involved in that application, but I can find that out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm saying some kind of jurisdictional table would be useful to see, what's the coordination between town on the site plan, town on the CO, HUD, who's then coordinating with Suffolk County Health Department on the wastewater, and who's in charge of what, because this isn't typical. And the CO, there are two pieces of paper that are representative of CO, not 93 pieces
They're
of
representative
paper,
of the variance.
right? So there's another
But they're not,
element there.
but they're
And
not,
then the
they're
variance.
representative of the variances, not the 93.
So we need to
He has
take-
separate COs, I'm assuming, or
We have-
accounting of all these separate COs.
Well, I mean, they issued, the building department issued two COs.
Just
One for 83 and one for 10 for the 93. That's how they chose to do it.
For the
So we
two
need to-
parcels.
Two parcels, one with
Each
10.
one has its own CO. Kind of.
Yes.
And we need to look at the ZBA documents as well. Claire, you're gonna get,
And I would like to understand how the
Yes.
building department came to the conclusion that they did. And there should be some thought process and process there of how they affirmed last year that there's 83 and 10.
They use a number of tools. They use
I'd like to-
aerials, they use affidavits. They're not obligated to tell you how they arrived there. They're, in fact, that they probably won't.
I was gonna say, I don't know that the building department's gonna say we came up with 93 based on X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
I just don't
I
know
can't,
that
they've never
the
done
way
that in the past, and I would imagine they're not gonna break precedents now.
right, they don't pull it out of a hat, right?
Right, they use affidavits, they use aerials, they use a whole host of submissions to make that determination. And, by the way, their decision can be appealed.
It's too late for that.
It's too late. Any civic group or
Why
any
is it
neighbor
too late?
could
Because you have
appeal that
60 days to appeal a building inspector's decision.
at the ZBA, they could have appealed, but they didn't.
Well, I think getting a clearer picture of this is really important because it's a major.
It's different, yeah.
It's a major development,
You
and
don't-
it is
you don't-
different, and there are different
It's
jurisdictions.
not a development, it's a redevelopment. The alternative is to maintain squalid, as you say, it's not gonna be pretty. When you go in there, I've been in there, it's not pretty.
And it will be when it's done.
When it's done, it will be.
Oh, do you want to say anything about the buffers in the front?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. we
Is
want
there any
buffers,
affordability
landscaping.
here?
No buffers.
Um,
Nothing is affordability.
No.
Affordability component in here?
There may be, right? I think we have to get through this first, but we have talked to Kara about dedicating some.
Some unit, well,
Units.
there's a percentage, right? Is there not?
No,
Over-
no,
This is not
no. It's a
creating-
pre-existing use, before any of those laws. But there has been discussions about dedicating some to affordable housing, and not an insignificant amount, right? I much more than you would be required to do under the Long Island Workforce Housing Act.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, Claire, where does that leave us? Do we?
That leaves us that I have a lot of editing to do. And I'm gonna do a site inspection, and I'll get you this report early next week, so we'll review it on Thursday.
And this is just the pre-submission report,
This, the 21st would be to consider adoption of the pre-submission.
pre-submission report.
That is the deadline.
Thank you.
So anything else we come across, we can email you, right?
Yes.
Are you done?
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do an extension.
Okay, so I have to do a copy? You want?
Rick?
Just, yeah, real quick, number 16 is Jane Frith. Everybody knows that property. That's the one up on Southampton, Santa Barbara Turnpike, with the density incentive for affordable housing. We're in the secret process, and I'm still working with the applicant, looking at some potential alternatives before we necessarily follow through. So,
Great.
so we're going to ask for an extension of
To-
till December 12th, 2024.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor,
Yeah,
2 absent.
Unless you want to finish, do you have an okay?
With site disturbance.
Anthony has 2.
Just gonna go.
Aria T.
Claire, you just have 1 left, right?
I do have one more.
Okay, so you finish yours.
So
and then
Aria
Anthony.
T, I have documents for you. So we received the, traffic study, so I'll pass that out to you. Aria T is the, development along Montauk Highway that's proposing 3 buildings that total 31,000 square feet. 29,000, oh, yeah, 29,000 square feet.
So 50 actually.
Yeah, exactly. There's 3 site plans there. They're a lot easier to do than the last one.
Good.
So that's the traffic study. And this is my part 2 on this one. We reviewed the part 2 July, I think. And at that point, you said that you wanted the traffic study information for the site to just make sure the traffic was good and not impacting. And then you were you didn't have any other significant issues on the property. We had looked at the architecture too, so I'm just gonna put the plans out here.
This is where, I know you said West Montauk Highway, but.
Yes, so let me get you
Down from the
292 West Montauk Highway.
Okay, but
I think immediately, let me pull it up, immediately to the east of the car wash.
Okay, that's sort of what I would
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
To the east of the car wash.
Yeah. So this is the front elevation, just so you think you've got. So there's
Stone.
stone. What I'm gonna do is have the expert summarize the traffic study for you.
Okay.
So the applicant's representatives here, and then they can speak about the traffic study.
Good afternoon. For the record, Key and Cody from the firm of Robinson and Muller Engineers. Our office at 50 Elm Street in Huntington, New York. We prepared a brief traffic study for this proposed project. The proposed project involves 19,000 square feet roughly of warehouse space and then 10,000 square feet of medical office space. The proposed project does not require a parking variance. They are providing 123 spaces on site where 110 are provided. We did prepare a parking generation analysis in accordance with the IT Parking Generation Manual. The IT is an organization which accumulates traffic and parking data and creates individual rates based on each land use. The 2 land uses we decided to go with was the medical dental land use, which is LUC 720, and then for the warehousing, which I don't believe it's been determined what's going to go industrially into those. So I used one of the more conservative, higher generating uses, which is the specialty trade contractor use, which is land use code 180. It revealed that the roughly 19,000 square feet of warehousing space would generate 36 parked vehicles, and that the medical office would generate 27 parked vehicles, totaling 63 parked vehicles. There's 123 spaces on site, so that leaves it about 50% occupied with 60 vacant spaces in the future condition. Based off that, we do believe more than adequate parking is being provided even for the more significant industrial land use code. If I used something like general light industrial or warehousing to simulate the expected activity, it would be a third or maybe even like a tenth of that level of activity. In terms of the traffic, we did a similar idea where we figured out the IT-based trip generation for the project. We used the same land use codes, so the more conservative industrial land use. and we found out that the peak would be 77 trips, 24 entering and 53 exiting. That would be during the PM commuter peak period. We then used AADT data obtained from the New York State Traffic Data Viewer for Montauk Highway, and it revealed during that PM period there were about 795 vehicles traveling along Montauk Highway, which would relate to about a 9 to 10% increase in traffic, but that would be spread out between entering and exiting trips and also east and west trips. That's a relatively low volume. Anything under 100 trips is typically considered not a significant increase, and it would be spread out on a sort of a lower activity portion of Montauk Highway. We then lastly investigated the site distance at the proposed location of the site driveway along Montauk Highway. This section of Montauk Highway is pretty straight. You had easily, 500, 600 feet of site distance in either direction from the location of the proposed driveway, which is towards the western side of the site. The road right there is 40 miles per hour, so based off ASHTO's recommended site distance, it would be 445 feet in either direction. That's the left turn site distance, which gets applied to both left and right viewing angles because it's a full access driveway. Based off our site observations, we found that there was adequate site distance. I'm here for any questions if you have them.
Can I start with just a basic question?
Sure.
Your commuter or midday and your peak periods, are you talking about traffic volume on a 1 hour period?
Yes, 1 hour.
This is a 1 hour period. Okay. So
Can you also just, reference the pages that we're on, because there's no page numbers and don't know where you are.
You've given a lot of numbers, but I can't.
I just sort of went through in order. So on page 1, it's just discussion of the parking requirements related to the site. That's the 110 spaces required with the 123 spaces provided. So we exceed the required, thus no parking variance is required.
I found.
On the second page at the top, we go through the IT parking generation estimate. So that's the estimated demand for the parking based off industry standard data. And we used, like I said, the specialty trade contractor land use for the industrial uses, and then medical dental office for the medical office use. And that resulted in an expected average peak demand of 63 vehicles parked. With the 123 total spaces provided on site, that leaves 60 spaces vacant. So we'd expect the site to really only hit 50% occupied.
So you use sort of universal numbers, right?
Yeah.
This is not at all tailored to the east end of Long Island.
No. It's recently for some of the land uses, they'll provide data just for the Northeast Atlantic region. But the one time I've been asked to use it, it didn't change any of the numbers at all.
Well, I bet if you did something for the east end of Long Island, it would change it.
It might.
We are this small in this
But
universal space.
Parking, we also went with a very rigorous decision for the specialty trade contractor land use, where we don't know what kind of industrial is going into these yet. It could be something like warehousing, which could be a tenth the parking that specialty trade contractor could be, or even general light industrial, which I think is 0.67, I think, parked per 1,000 square feet compared to 1.76.
And can I ask you if you are using the more contemporary size of vehicles that are being used for special trade contractors these days, which are trucks and then trailers attached to them?
The data from the IT should include any vehicles that were parked on the subject property when the observations were being recorded.
And so what was the maximum length of those vehicles?
That's not information that's provided to us. It's solely a factor of the square feet of the building. It tells us how many vehicles we'd expect parked per 1,000 square feet of space.
But you don't look at the parking space and say, if I have 10 40-foot vehicles, that'll fit. If I have 10,
I believe we meet the loading space requirement as well, which should address most of.
I'm sorry to get so granular with you. Because
it's just not something that's provided by the IT.
I get it.
There's a minimum size in the code for the width and length of parking spaces, and we have to meet that.
Yeah, I know. We've expanded some of it too because of.
We don't in our code. We don't address truck parking spaces. We just
don't differentiate.
Right. We don't differentiate.
I would like to point out we are almost. The estimated demand is almost half of the parking required. So even if every vehicle on site was taking up 2 full spaces, it would still be pretty much adequate.
Width-wise, you're saying?
Whichever way you want to park it, we have double the amount of spaces.
Lengthwise, not widthwise.
That would be a factor of the drive aisle, which is a question for the site design engineer, not me.
And to jump to, from the parking for a minute, over to the traffic volume, if I could. Point number 5 there, page 3 on your summary. And again, as with your earlier analysis, I appreciate the information you present and the completeness that you do. If you go to number 5, you're basically talking the weekday PM peak period. This site would add 10% increase in the overall traffic on the road, 9.7%.
Yes.
Just want to point that out to the board.
Well, realistically, the number of vehicles traveling on Montauk Highway isn't very high. 800 to 1,000 vehicles isn't a very large
It's
amount.
single lane each way.
Yes, but
Right.
just for the speed limit and the capacity of the roadway can most likely handle that level of increase. There's other projects in the area that are generating similar levels of traffic activity.
Right. And
and we've seen, for instance,
cumulative effect of all of them.
But for instance, for the diner property is generating a similar level of traffic activity, and we studied a much more intensive intersection, and we found no impact there. So further down where there's less vehicles, I don't expect this to have significant impact.
And I know, your responsibility, and again, I appreciate what you've done here, as an individual site and another individual site. The problem we have is that all those individual sites have contributed to, the situation that we experience every day now. The chief engineer for Suffolk County DPW said that we're over capacity on every roadway, on the South Fork. That's a statement he made at a recent meeting we had. So again, an individual one here is, I don't disagree with your numbers. I would say, when you're adding 10% volume, and I guess you can argue whether, 372 vehicles eastbound and 415 westbound in an hour is a lot for a road. I know the capacity is probably like 600 vehicles an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
You can make that argument, but again, the problem we have is that we've had the cumulative. issue,
I understand.
And this would be
yeah.
adding 9.7% to what's there already.
Which is probably at a standstill at 4 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Theoretically, we shouldn't have a traffic problem. If
No,
you looked at
not
all of the
all the
individual
traffic-
sites
Well, that's
over all the years, we should not have a
That's
traffic
right.
problem.
Every traffic study says no traffic impact.
For their particular project.
Right.
And we who live here know that there are major traffic impacts if this statement is so, and we believe it to be so, that every roadway is beyond capacity.
One thing I can say is medical office uses, for instance, are usually, patients make appointments, so it's a self-limiting use. You can't really overbook your doctors or your surgeries or anything like that, so that would be self-limiting. And then industrial uses tend to generate, something early in the morning and then something later in the evening when vehicles are returning, not really continual daily traffic like a shopping center or any retail would.
Right. So you have 2 buildings that are special trade contractor and 1 medical of the 3.
Yes.
The other thing to keep in mind is that this property is pretty far west of the diner, and I think the traffic we have different experiences with traffic that far west than we do east, and so
I don't
think,
know about that.
Well, I drive them almost every day,
Yeah.
right? And my experience, most people are going through Hampton Bays and then getting on the highway where it's open, right?
It's
So-
backed up to
It's backed
West
up
Hampton
to
in
the
the morning, and farther sometimes.
On weekday
Yes.
mornings.
It's not as bad to the west, easy for me to say because I live in Sag Harbor, but it's not quite as bad to the west. You're right about that, Dave.
The bottleneck
But
starts in East Diana.
I would also, just for interesting point, if you go right up for the members of the board, if you go just above the little indent there on number 4, to note that midday peak hour, which is what you are comparing down below, and I think that's appropriate because most of this traffic in and out of this site would be weekday, not weekend. because of the medical building. But midday peak hour, 787 vehicles travel along that road. Saturday peak hour, 1,180 travel along that
Ooh.
road.
Wow.
So
I-
you've got 30% more traffic on a Saturday afternoon than you do on a weekday afternoon.
Right.
I'd also like to state, this site, the state doesn't have, I can't grab anywhere on a road for it. It has to be at a count location. And the closest count location for Montauk Highway is pretty far to the east. So these volumes that I'm using may not exactly be representative. But it's the best I can use.
We don't have
And
to wait.
they only do it, and again, I think we talked, they do intermittent counts every couple of years. So I think that's what you're talking about.
Well,
That
also
it's-
just the physical location of the count. I can't pick one right at the site driveway like I would like to.
Right.
And I did discuss
might be a
the
little farther
dates.
west or a little farther east.
Yeah. So I did also discuss the dates. The Saturday was taken from 2017 because that's the most recent Saturday data that's available for that count location.
Right.
The weekday data, which was an average from a Tuesday to a Thursday in August of 2024. So those volumes are, they're what's available to us.
Then in
Right.
2017, right, I mean, Tom was saying that some of those traffic monitors, where there needs to be more of them.
Yeah.
Particularly west.
We only have one 24/7 in our area, and that's
The Shinnecock Canal, I believe,
39
is
Shinnecock
yeah,
Canal,
is a
Right.
continuous count
the
station.
Peconic overpass. That's the
Yeah,
only one.
I mean, there's only like 9 or 10 continuous count stations really that are useful. Most of them are on small roads that you don't really want continuous count data for. But yeah, like I said, the weekday data that's more up to date is from summer of 2024. So that, that's that 500, 700, 800 numbers. The 1100 is from 2017. Maybe the area is more active in the past, or the roadways were more traveled during the weekends. I mean, I'm from Nassau County, so I can't really speak to it, but I was always under the impression that anything out east is always busiest on like a Friday or Saturday in the summer.
Yeah,
I think his morning commute during the springtime.
We've
is
actually
also-
found the Monday to Friday, using the Peconic overpass, the Monday to Friday averages now are higher than Saturday and Sunday averages. It's an interesting dilemma.
The
hour shift of when it's busy, but maybe one day I'll share the information I pulled for our town task force.
Well, I think there's this great westward migration, especially after the pandemic, when the supply of housing went down and the demand went up because a lot of people purchased houses out here.
Mhm.
So then you have people getting priced out, but they still want to work out east. So the commuter traffic is way more significant.
Yeah, and more.
So, and we could spend all day talking about.
Yeah, so just cumulative
But we're actually here for your particular site application, so.
So
good context.
What do we do next? What do we do next,
I
Claire?
mean, I think you find that the data is accurate for what it is.
Looks reasonable to me.
Yes, okay. So that was the last item on the part 2 that needed to be addressed. I'm prepared to do a neg deck on this. Do you want me to write it up? I mean, I was just going to use this document as a basis of the neg deck.
But where's the part where you describe any?
I would have to do a resolution
Yeah.
that would say that. But it's in summary, it would be describing the application, that there's an active application for zoning board of appeals. It is for 29,000 square feet, some of it medical, some of it specialty contractor use, and that it is a type 1 action. And then upon your review of the part 2 that you conclude, and the traffic study, so it was prepared, that you find that it will not have a negative impact on the environment, and then
But
issue an
Claire, I think you
How
need to
could
write
we-
that up
Sorry.
for us to approve it. Sorry.
I can write it for the next time. Are you good with that?
Yeah.
David?
Claire, I have a question on the last page of the EAF.
Sure.
Consistency with community plans, number C.
Mhm.
Proposed action is inconsistent?
Well, it is, so the standard is the 15,000 square feet, as a maximum of all buildings.
Okay.
And they're going to the zoning board of appeals, making the argument that it could be, I'm not gonna make your argument for you, but, that it could be subdivided and therefore it could comply if you subdivided the parcel. But it is still, doesn't conform with the code.
Okay,
So
got
that's why it is stated.
That's right.
So that, I say that a little bit under other,
Yeah.
and state facts. And then they also don't conform with the 50-foot buffer in the rear, but that is an open space parcel in the back, so those are the two aspects. I can do an explanation.
Please, I
and-
think it's important on this one.
Yeah, so I'll do it and I'll write it up for adoption for the next one. Okay?
Are we got an action deadline?
No,
No.
you have to find that you have all the information that you've decided today you do. You have 21 days.
Even though
20 days.
we don't believe that it's gonna have a negative effect.
Huh?
Well, I mean, cumulatively, that's what we're just discussing,
That's
so
my hard part.
I'm not sure. So if we're not deciding it today, that's okay, but I'll vote
No.
twice.
So it has to have a
I'm not sure.
moderate
But it's in
impact.
accordance with the zoning code, unless they, take it as, if they get a variance. Well, no, the ZBA is gonna give them, based on their ability to subdivide.
They could subdivide it into 3 parcels, each 10,000, which is 30,000 square feet. I mean, I think it's a very poor runaround to go around.
Then let's tell the ZBA to make them subdivide it.
Right.
What's the gain though?
You get more buildings.
You get
You get
1,000
more
more
buildings.
feet, right?
No, you get 45,000, 16,000 square feet.
Yeah.
You get subdivision.
No, but because the max is 15,000 each,
Per
right?
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they couldn't even fit that though, really.
Yeah, watch them, they'll do it.
Wall to wall building.
Don't tell them.
Okay, I'll write it up for next time.
Thank you, Claire.
Then you can decide what you
Yeah.
want to do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire.
Thank you.
Anthony,
10:52.
where?
Are we doing, what,
What
doing fish
not?
hawks?
Oh, yes, we are. What am I insane?
18? No?
Here, I'll show you this one. Fish hawk.
Thanks for coming in.
282.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be here tonight too.
Oh, you will? Okay, good.
When's the diner coming?
Oh, God.
I'll call you tomorrow, because I need your help.
I'll be down Saturday morning.
So you want to sign Saturday? You just need the permit until we get the permit.
Okay, 18 Fish Hawks Watch.
Yeah,
Lot
that's the name of the
2.
subdivision to 282 Roses Grove Road. So you can see this property here. It's in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. This has been before the zoning board on various variances for 5 hearings. It's been a beast.
Now, this is the built-out part. There's I was there yesterday. There's a parcel way in the back that's still under development. This is the one on
In
the
front of
right.
it, yeah.
In front of,
Yeah.
okay.
So as you can see here, they initially had this very long driveway that comes down. They
Mhm.
have a tendency to build these houses in this area in the back, and then had to get variances for all sorts of things, and the clearing issue came up at the zoning board of appeals. Their access, they have an easement over here, which is now where they're taking their access.
So they're not taking their access off Roses Grove Road?
Nope, the access now is from here over an existing easement that they have. And all of this is being removed and planted, as well as some of the gaps here.
But what about the house behind? Isn't that?
That
I
is
mean,
the
there's-
house behind.
No, there's 3 built houses.
Right.
Off
Might
of
be on
Roses
different lots,
Grove.
Well, what's your concern, I guess, is my question.
What are they replanting?
This whole driveway here. And then, well, I can show it to you. It's a 5-page planting.
Hi, Karen Pate Murphy, attorney for the applicant, Dreamview LLC. This property was basically cleared and the owner bought it. We went to the ZBA and had 5 hearings. So we had the neighbors and they were very involved in making sure it was buffered. And the guy behind was also represented. And
Who's the guy behind? Who
I'm
are you
sorry,
referring
he's the
to?
guy on the lower end. I don't know which direction that is, that goes with the easement. So he's yeah. So that's not developed. It's been in his family for 30 years, and so he's not
that
really
lot?
like there was a house my guy, there was an existing house there before, and he's adding on an addition that required variances. And the place was really clear. I mean, there's extensive revegetation. And they were using, they just decided to create a driveway. That's really actually where the water is. But they don't have access onto the road. That's Roses Grove Road there. They have to go through the easement. And that was part of the, I guess, original subdivision. So, but yeah, so this is a revegetation. And because a lot of that, I mean, you can't really see, I mean, it looks like it's kind of, it needs a lot of planting. And the way they got it, it's on layers of different plants.
Is that a formal access?
I can't.
The easement is the only way you can access the property. You cannot, where that road is, that's gonna be all covered on the property.
Seems so simple to me. This driveway here is coming out. It's not
coming
here
out.
anymore. The access is coming from here over
From
an
there.
easement.
Yeah, it's
And
gone.
it's being revegetated.
They just,
Gotcha.
they weren't supposed to use it, but the builder that was redoing the main house before I went for variance.
So there's a layer
made it.
here of,
There's a, bear with me, please, because I'm very confused. There's a mailbox that says 282.
Yeah.
And there's a driveway that goes up to the house from Roses Grove Road. Which is that driveway?
But that mailbox, Gloria, I think it's way, it's up to the top.
It's on the road. No,
Yes.
it's not there. It's
No,
on
it's
there.
there it is, right where
yes.
where his
Yeah,
arrow
there's a
is.
bunch of mailboxes there.
Confusing.
Yes, because it goes uphill. It's very,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, you can see everything.
And there are 3 houses on that road.
On the easement. Yes.
2 on the right-hand side,
And
I
then there
believe
one's
your
vacant.
applicant
Well,
is-
there's actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, 4. There's 3 houses using it right now, and then the one that's vacant, that would be
under
the 4th.
construction.
It's not under construction.
It's got blue stuff all over it.
Now?
Yeah, I was there yesterday.
Oh, really?
but this is not the subject of our.
Yeah, but that's not our, that was
It's
just a
this
neighbor.
property here.
So
The
what's
ta-
being-
it's rectangle.
What's being revegetated? Show me on the map, please.
Well, I have a plan that shows it,
I
but
know, but I can't tell
It's
where.
hard, okay. You have the survey?
vegetation plan.
I don't mean to be stubborn, but I'm being stubborn.
No, it's,
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time.
all the existing woodland vegetation is shown, and then everything in the bubbles is areas to be revegetated. This first page here is the understory that they're proposing.
Okay, but bear with me.
Yes.
Is that not the driveway from the mailboxes?
No.
No, that's coming down here.
One is.
This is the top here where the long driveway comes down here.
But they're not
Which is
using
being
it.
closed off.
Which is
Yes, they weren't supposed to use that.
So
the-
show me that.
The mailboxes that you saw.
That
see
long
where that house
driveway,
is,
Lorraine, that
coming
you
down
see
to the
coming
right.
down there? You see that up there?
Sorry, you got it.
It's just a revegetation plan. I've never had this many problems with something to revegetate.
It's
It's
a weird.
It's not weird. The driveway comes from top of Rose's Grove
Yeah.
all the way down. That's going. The driveway is now here.
So put your
Over.
mouse back out on Roses Grove at the end.
So, but the 2 houses.
The other way.
The 2 houses that are on Roses Grove on the right-hand side on that map,
What about them?
how are they gonna get to their houses? If that driveway is revegetated? That's my question.
No one uses that.
No one uses
No one uses this driveway.
No one uses that.
All this house, this house, this house, and this house are all using this access here.
And
it
in
looks
fact,
like the other ones have a common driveway coming off of Roses
yeah,
Grove.
that's owned by the Silvers, and they were very, they hired legal counsel and were doing
So
the.
you're just concerned about
Yeah, so-
access. if
Karen,
that-
how come they had to abandon it? How come they can't use that driveway? Is there a private
It's
party?
the original subdivision, and
It eats up a lot of clearing too.
yeah, eats up a lot of clearing. It's a very long lot, and they're up high, so they don't really need that. And the neighbors, the Silvers, they were the main ones that were, they hired attorney, and And they just hated it because they could
So
see
the initial
everything.
subdivision precluded them from accessing Rose's Grove?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
And so
and
what
my
did
guy
they-
bought it from somebody else.
And the
And it was
builder
already
just went in
subdivided.
and didn't know it,
Yeah,
it
he
was-
was doing whatever and
Yeah.
just aggravating everybody,
And,
you know.
and so that new driveway is accessed from what road?
From there.
Rose's Grove Road.
Yeah, it's an
Just
Come
easement.
down and then angle up.
You go there and you go,
And that's the way it was mandated when they did the subdivision.
yes,
Even though they have frontage on Rose's Grove, they have to take their access off of the.
off of there. So
Very
that's
common.
that's their access.
I like that overlay, Anthony. It's clear.
That was very nice. Yes, I like that. So that's the thing. Everything's in that one section because the clearing. It's 20%. I think. Or it's 5 acres.
20%.
Or 15%. I mean, so they really had to put everything together, and that's a high point. So then everything else is just all
So we're here for the re-veg, right?
yes, just for the
So
vegetation.
it's on several sheets, so what they did was, the areas, the existing forested areas, and they show the areas that they're revegetating. This is a layer for understory. And then I believe these are the
Trees, bushes.
It says what it is. like-
Yeah, they did it in layers, so they
did
put
like trees, bushes,
yeah,
whatever.
trees,
So
bushes, understory, grasses, and they separated them out. You're looking at basically a mix of red maple, white oak, black oak, chestnut oak, red oak, dogwood, pitch pines, sheep laurel, mountain laurel, high bush blueberry, arrowwood, bayberry, northern
And-
bayberry, huckleberry, chokeberry, featherbush, Pennsylvania sage.
It's gonna be beautiful.
It's gonna be a good one.
yeah, it's
I've been
very
working
mixed.
with Kieran for a while on this one.
So I think your concern was you were worried about access based on thinking that the mailboxes that you oriented yourself to were actually up higher on the map, not
Yeah. No.
where the current access is.
Yeah,
But
everybody has
everyone still
access.
has access, and so that
And-
makes sense.
And also part of the ZBA, along on the right there where the neighbor is, you know, where the tennis court is, they're getting 30 trees were put up immediately.
Yeah.
So
That
this
doesn't
this
concern us.
person is spending, you know, the money. He was from out, he
That's nice.
didn't know what was
Right.
going on. So when he went to go get a variance, it had to be explained because the builder just, you know, created that road. That was originally what the water line is there. So that's what happened.
Okay.
So Anthony, this puts them in compliance,
Make a
right?
motion.
Yes,
Puts
this
them
is
in
bringing it
compliance.
to compliance with
Good to go.
20%.
That's a good plan. Okay, any
Great
other
plan.
questions?
Nope.
Motion to
Motion
approve
to approve.
second.
by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
All
you.
in favor, 5, 2 absent.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
1052 Noyak Path,
So this was a two-lot subdivision application that we previously deemed incomplete. It's going to require a covenant amendment consideration as well. There's no zoning issues. It's a 5-acre zone, and it could create 2 lots that fully conform to zoning. We deemed it incomplete because we needed slopes, we needed these driveways shown, and some clearing calculations, so I could do an assessment here for a pre-application. They gave us here the map with the slopes on there, so you can sort of see where the driveway's coming in, avoiding the steep slopes there. You can see where the steep slopes, that's why the structures are located where they are. They also gave me various title work and stuff and legal documents pertaining to common driveways, because this is, as you can see up there, sort of a mess with lots of things going on. But they provided the information, so now I think we can deem it complete and schedule the hearing for January 9, 2025.
okay, no questions? Motion to deem it
Motion.
complete and schedule a hearing for Jan 9, Anthony?
January 9,
2025.
The great blizzard 2025.
2025.
I'll motion.
Circle your calendar.
Motion by Kate, second by Gloria, and all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? 5 in favor, 2 absent. Thank you.
As I said to
Yeah,
Jackie before the meeting, just 2 extensions real quick.
Yeah, and what about the sign plans?
I'm gonna do that after this.
Okay,
One add-on is 94 June Road, Dockers.
Okay.
We're doing an extension of the SECRA completeness review. We have to do a completeness review of the DEIS. We have another extension until December 12th.
December
The
12th.
condos?
Yeah.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Then the estates at Madeline Cuomo, we actually finally did an approval for that, so we're just waiting for final maps. And so we'll do an extension for that until February 17th, 2025.
Extension to Feb.
17th, 2025.
Motion.
Motion by Dennis, second by Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
And then on the signed maps, Jackie, Brown was there, which Florian did sign.
Acknowledging Brown development for signed map and
Kamakudako.
I signed that as well.
Kamakudako, and what about Puccio?
I signed that
That's
as well.
Okay,
Kamkuda's now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so acknowledgement of the Puccio laundromat sign plans and the Kamakudio sign plans. Thank you, Anthony. And Seth, you have one, right?
Yes. Lot line modification at 12 and 10 Red Creek Road. I bring it before you for completeness. There was a question that I did not realize was something to look into, if the lot line that separated these two lots actually existed or not. Apparently it does, because I have been able to locate the variance that was on March 2022. The Board of Appeals issued a decision stating that 10 Red Creek is entitled to relief under 330-115D continuance, which allows the building on a non-conforming lot. What we're faced with is transferring 2,000 square feet, 2,040 square feet from lot number 1, which is this one here, number 12 Red Creek. I should pull out a little. Down to this non-conforming lot here. There is a demolition permit on the larger lot and a wetlands permit that are current. And there is a proposed building on the lot to the south. So in order for that lot to have the minimum side yards and combined side yards, they're going to take literally 10 feet off the northern lot and put it onto the southern lot.
So it makes it a conforming lot then?
In that one respect only, not in the size, overall
What-
size.
I was
It
gonna
still
say,
will not
what-
be R20.
What are the size of the lots?
Well, this is just for completeness, right?
This is just
Oh.
completeness, yes.
We're gonna get all this.
11,000 plus 2, it will not satisfy R20, right? But it will have the required size for the side yards combined and single side yards.
Oh, we get another crack at it.
So it's
So I would
complete,
suggest
Seth?
open it for public hearing. I understand the 23rd is available. Public
January?
hearing for the 23rd.
January
23rd,
23rd?
yes.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Motion by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, 5 in favor, 2 absent.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Dennis, second by Gloria, all in favor. We are adjourned, 5 in favor, 2 absent.